Hello, all of you wonderful beings out there, and welcome to the stream. I am Raharu, and this is Lost in Chaos Scar, Season 3, Epilogue. The story so far. This is one of our Pokemon tabletop RPG campaigns being run with our custom Scar system, or Stories and Creatures in Alternate Realities. The system is available for open playtest on our Discord as well as itch.io, so go take a look at it and let us know what you think. For now, we shall get started with introductions, beginning with Enja.
Hello and good day, everyone. I will be your storyteller for this evening, Enja Lumareus. I played the allies, I played the enemies, and I orchestrated all manner of events that will be following our players today, starting with Rex Strider.
Hi, I'm Rex Strider. I'll be playing Chomper, a fire-water type Fuecoco. Pass it off to Raharu.
Hello everybody, I'm Raharu and I'll be playing Paz, the solo water type Sobble. On to you, Rob.
Hello, I am Archneer Rob. I shall be playing Scruff, the ground ice type Swineup. On to the Zim.
I am Raharu, and I will be playing as Squirrel, the dragon fighting type Riolu. Off to Vane.
Hello, I am Talderis, and I'll be playing Vane, the dark flying type Murkrow.
Alright, and for this particular recording, I don't necessarily want to call it a session, but you know, kind of session. We are going through the story of Lost in Chaos so far. This will be from the very beginning all the way up till now. Getting everybody on the same page for us to go into Season 4, which would be next week.
Yep.
There will, if time permits, there will be a Q&A afterwards. But this is also a really big recap, so yeah.
Yeah, it's like 36 pages long. We only had to recap like 100 episodes.
Indeed.
You know, that's all.
I tried to keep it to mostly like the big points, but also there's still just so much to go through.
Just a bit.
Same here. Me and Tal basically did half each half of it. I did season 1, Scrolls Adventure and the What If, and Bane and Tal did season 2 and 3.
Season 3 was 40 odd episodes. It is a very long section. That by itself is like a third of this thing.
I mean, there's 3 seasons. It would make sense that one season is a third of it.
Technically speaking, we, especially if you count the What If and the actual Squirrels Adventures as being slightly shorter their own seasons, we actually have 5, but...
Yeah, fair.
At the very least, we actually have 4.
Yeah. Fun fact. The What If ended up going for more episodes than actual Scrolls Adventure, funnily enough.
But either way, without further ado, let us begin. With Season 1. The party arrived at the impacted tree and was found by Kaza the Abra without memories. They were taken to the nearby town, a town by the name of Hamoa, where Kaza lived. We met Ciel and Amari, Kaza's parents, and also met Sigmund the Doctor. Very grumpy one, that. A lot of shenanigans happened involving chestnuts, Vane's head having a natural hat looking into the belongings of Kaza's house, some of them apparently being cursed equipment, and Sigmund's bathroom getting exploded by a certain gator. We were told about the mystery dungeons and guild and began to consider forming a team to stick together as a bunch of amnesiacs, with Kaza considering joining us for that. We learned about meat being plant-like in this world. We got into some sort of treasure hunt that ended up being found by Squirrel and Chomper, earning us some gold for 8,000 Poki and the pauldron Squirrel wears. The Amnesiacs end up coming together and getting teleported to the outpost where we officially become guild members, giving ourselves the name Team Chaos, and Kaza joins us, abdicating his solo silver rank to be a rookie with us. We headed off towards the library. Special library, for the record. Grand Library, I think it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. Partly because we heard rumors of a locksmith being there. We arrived at the library and met Bean and Samantha. We learned about the world currency being Poki, as well as more info about the dungeons. A lot of activities occur, such as Squirrel learning metalsmithing, as well as getting his chest inspected by Bean, Chomper trying to find a book about fighting and getting some coaching from Samantha, Paz finding a book about amnesiacs and having a discussion with Vane about the general state of things, and about the possibility of human-turned Pokemon. Scruff learns about the geography of the land, and Kaza is mysteriously picked up by his father CL and leaves with him without saying a word. Once it was noticed, the party goes to investigate Kaza leaving and ends up taking us to the dungeon entrance in Hamoa, where we find that CL had taken Kaza into it and left him on the 5th floor alone. The Hamoa dungeon is a deviant dungeon that wildly goes up in strength instead of being relatively uniform throughout. At that point, the 5th floor was categorized as gold rank, a rank far out of, well, not that far, I suppose, but either way outside of Kaza's league at the time. Amazingly enough, Kaza made it to floor 22 by himself, and then used an escape orb because his badge had been damaged. The party finding him bruised and battered on the 1st floor after they decided to go in after Kaza. Little bit of thing there is, we were not supposed to go into this dungeon at all.
Indeed.
In fact, we had to go right past the guards that were trying to stop us.
Indeed.
Yeah. Squirrel did not take no for an answer.
It helps that we had a Mari there.
Yeah.
True.
None of the party took no for an answer in that one, honestly.
The party, alongside Kaza's mom, Amari, takes Kaza out of the dungeon and bring him back to have medical attention, as well as try and get his dress fixed by the tail guy. We ended up learning about the concepts of being seized by the dungeon after we went back to the guild hall, while Chomper and Squirrel ended up going back to Kaza's house after their business with the tail guy was over. Squirrel ended up working on his tail weapon. Sometime later, we had the Hamoa Festival. The party, without Vane, did various mini-games, among them being the strength contest, a water gun ranch. Race, I think you meant? An eating contest, which Chomper won handily, and the Spindo race. Paz ended up doubling down on water gun minigames after his initial poor showing and ended up winning a rainbow gummy at the end, a very rare item. And Team Chaos ended up winning the Spinda race together. In the middle of the fair was also the first instance of Greaves showing up, unusually taking on a different appearance than usual, looking like a Mr. Mime. Squirrel got a weapon maintenance kit and his pauldron buffed, and Chomper got his headphones fortified. Vane and Kaza were separated from the rest of the group at the carnival, Vane doing his own thing while Kaza watched, winning some prizes in the gummy race. Squirrel went to the dungeon on his own, trying to get some Poki to try and buy something from Greaves. Chomper ended up getting spiked into the ground after offering himself as a projectile in the test of strength. In the process of getting him out, he accidentally watergunned Sigmund's house, which is the second time Chomper damaged Sigmund's house. And Chomper and Paz, who had gotten himself tangled on the rope, used to try and get Chomper out, end up getting cartoonishly fried by Sigmund. At this point, Sigmund learns that we are amnesiacs because it wasn't told to him until now, making things rather awkward. As recompense, Sigmund decides to give us one of our first jobs as guild members, a medical delivery to Lulite alongside the Tauros wagon. Sigmund also learns that Squirrel has ADHD, something not really commonly known or treated in the Pokemon world, and goes about trying to find ways to help in that regard as a doctor. The party was also joined by Amos, who was cameoing from Starlight, a Growlithe who apparently also comes from another world, who also had a job to deliver stuff to Lulite independent of the party, and the party was tasked to escort him. The party got ready and supplied to make their mission. Squirrel was given some medication that ended up making him easy to snap, and he ended up trying to fight someone for not letting him and CL into the dungeon, as CL had been put on probation for the stunt he pulled with Kaza. On our way to Lulite, two things happened. Squirrel was almost framed for stealing after finding an unsupervised chest on the road. I believe it was actually in the wagon, but...
It was in a wagon, yeah.
Yeah. Vane told him to put anything that he took from it back, as the scenario made no sense. The Gumi who had planted the chest ended up trying to get our party in trouble, but didn't accomplish much. Meanwhile, the rest of the party investigated a pollen cloud that was beginning to make a tornado. It ended up being a temporary entrance to the dungeon in Lulite, way off from where the actual dungeon is. Paz, Chomper, Scruff, Kaza, and Amos got spirited away into the dungeon, where they found the scene of an Espeon fighting some cloaked assassins in the middle of the dungeon. Kaza informed the present party that this was the guild master of the entire guild, Kalti. At least, for some reason, the guild master.
Probably because he was capable of 1vxing the gods, so people didn't complain.
That is the only merit.
I'm just pointing out, it's kind of hard to argue against the guy that, could literally fight off apocalypses.
He had a very good secretary though, to make sure that the actual the actual paperwork was being done.
There's a reason Season 1 Vane had no respect for Kalti in any way.
Wait, he has a respect for Kalti now?
At least a little bit for, not giving up.
Which,
After the whole timeline thing.
Yeah, which considering his whole story, it's a bit commendable? Question mark.
They can at least respect someone for not giving up after what's probably a million years, at minimum multiple hundreds of thousands of years. So we're in timeline 71,528.
Yeah.
He has to give that part props, at least. Like, come on.
I suppose so. But either way, using an escape orb, the party reconvened, reporting the happenings to the Homoa Guild, and a large-scale rescue protocol was initiated to help out the Guildmaster. With the reinforcements, which included Kaza's brother Alice and CL, his father, the party went back to the Please, don't.
Yeah, I scrolled down and then accidentally clicked.
Okay. Sorry, ADHD makes it very hard when there's something, a little flag jumping around the screen. Hey, Ido. Where was I? The party went back to the temporary entrance. Most people stayed, but went out to scout with his...
Vane went out before.
Okay, Vane went out to scout with his flight and attempted to help the Guildmaster by tossing him some reviver seeds. That ended up not being necessary. We learned that these are the invaders. Some... At first we thought were some beings that at first we thought were from another dimension, that we now know are actually from another planet, that are trying to invade the Pokemon world. And they turn into red mist once they die. As we soon found out after the Guildmaster was done playing around with the ones attacking him. CL also ended up closing the hole in space that the invaders were using to pass through with his bare hands. After that whole ordeal, we learned that this invasion has been happening for 4 months, and the Guildmaster was just dealing with it himself instead of telling anyone using his very keen future sight. Yes, very keen indeed. After the incident, the party restarted their trip, now with some people from Team Arleon in tow, specifically Farion the Arcanine and Lilac the Cubchew. On the way there, several things happened. Amos convinced Squirrel to punch Scruff into a nearby lake, and Scruff took his revenge on Amos by freezing him and doing the same to him after being rescued. Scruff saw a cloaked figure in the distance that was wearing similar clothes to the invaders, but who turned out to be a living substitute Espeon that the Guildmaster spawned, whom we decided to name Cat. Chomper was given fire kisses by Farion, and Squirrel ended up being taught how to use Ember, which he probably ended up in him burning a small portion of the flower field. I don't think it was that small.
Considering the size of the flower field, it was not more than even a single-digit percentage.
But it was still a pretty large area.
Yeah.
Team Arleon was assigned to be our instructors as a new team, and we go into the Lulite Dungeon, where we are taught the basics of combat. Through our trek through the dungeon, we end up finding Greaves again, who kept trying to sell a book to Squirrel that we were not interested in anymore. We ended up buying some stuff, like Vane getting his goggles enchanted, so that dirt did not get stuck to them anymore. We fought the boss of the dungeon at the end as a team. We used a team attack that ended up one-shotting the boss, but also ended up getting Chomper and Squirrel hurt since they basically collided through the boss and kept going right into the very hard dungeon wall. We decided that team attacks will not include the party members as ammunition anymore. Chomper and Squirrel got medical attention. The Squirrel was given another medicine to try for his ADHD, which ended up causing him to zone out and not realize that he was in the middle of gouging out the eyes of a Sableye because they looked like gems. Well, that was a different thing. That was just dragon typing.
That wasn't medicine related at all. That was just Squirrel.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that was part of the medicine, but oh well.
Nope. That was just Squirrel.
Okay, fair enough.
The medicine made him just not feel hungry, period. Chomper ended up getting memories back and made him realize that he is indeed a human-turned Pokemon. He also remembers that he used to steal for the sake of his family, which made him act on those old impulses and try to steal some rock-type food from the kitchen, specifically to give to Squirrel. Both of them got chewed out for this from Vane. Which, just for the record, the rock-type food are literal gems.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although Vane chewed out the Squirrel because of the Sableye thing. Chomper got chewed out because of the gems.
Yeah. They were chewed out together because they happened very close together.
I just wanted to make sure it was understood that Vane didn't also chew out Squirrel for getting the thing from Chomper.
Yeah. Understood.
But our first dungeon run was technically successful despite the messy finish, so we were set to do it, or it was not... I mean, it was technically, I see, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
The wording there was throwing me off a little. Anyway, so we were set to do it one more time by our instructors. This time without assistance, and with 2 missions on hand, to find a mask fragment and a stun seed. We found the mask fragment on the 2nd floor, seemingly being attacked by the dungeon Pokemon themselves, which was very peculiar behavior. This item was seemingly one that belonged to an invader, and the dungeon Pokemon seemed to dislike them very much, to the point that once we retrieved it, the dungeon suddenly leveled up in difficulty towards us. On our next floor, we ended up finding a monster house, which was unheard of in a rookie-ranked dungeon like Lulite, not to mention a bunch of traps that definitely don't appear in lower-ranked dungeons, like explosion traps. It was a difficult battle, but the party prevailed in the end. At the end of the dungeon, since there was no boss as it had been beaten pretty recently, instead we got to fight one of our instructors, the Arcanine Furryon. It was basically a match where Furryon would tag us and we were out, but we were allowed to use moves against him. Chomper and Scruff got tagged out very early, Paz was next, and then Vane. Squirrel remained and tried to flank the Arcanine so as to not to get tagged, as well as use his horns as weapons. It went on for so long that Furryon ended up catching Squirrel in his mouth and using a Fire Fang move on him with seemingly full force. It left Squirrel singed and very hurt, and left most of the people that witnessed it disgusted, especially Vane. Squirrel got treated by Sigmund in one of the library rooms that had recently... library had recently moved to Lulite. And also Scruff, who was beginning to learn stuff from Sigmund. Squirrel ended up getting a memory at some point, recalling his dislike for doctors and getting over-medicated. It was not getting over-medicated.
What was it?
Simply, doctors themselves. He does not trust them at all.
Fair enough.
The party was scattered for a while after the encounter at the boss floor, but they slowly began to gather up inside of Squirrel's room, alongside the team members of Team Arleon and CL for some reason. Once Vane showed up to the little gathering, the Murkrow went on a very long rant exclaiming his dissatisfaction with most people in the room, excluding Bien, Samantha, and Lilac from Team Arleon, leaving a lot of people shell-shocked afterwards. Chomper and Squirrel were shaken by it quite a lot. Scruff became pensive, and Paz began acting weird. Quite a few things happened afterwards, namely Chomper going off to find Vane and trying to make up with him. Then and there deciding to call him boss. Scruff went off with Sigmund to try and learn more stuff from him when it comes to being a medic, and Paz going off to the forest by himself to train. Squirrel staying behind in the room due to his injuries. Kaza ended up having a heart-to-heart with Vane, where the Murkrow ended up getting one of his first memories, his favorite kind of music. Kaza and Vane were vibing. Ended up vibing after Vane practices his dark type.
Okay, that was a very bad sentence. I apologize.
Yeah,
Sorry, this took a long time. I didn't have time to read to proofread.
Not a problem. Paz went off to the forest and ended up practicing his water gun until he became dehydrated from using up too much of his internal water. He was found by and taken to a room in the library. Found by... Who was it that found you again?
I think it was Samantha.
I thought I wrote it. I may have wrote it and then I erased it and I didn't put it back. I think it may have been Chomper? Question mark? I don't remember, honestly.
No, I don't think it was one of the party. I think it was Samantha.
Let's go with Samantha then.
But either way, he was taken to a room in the library to rest. He seemed to keep wanting to go out of the room and was being stopped by Scruff. Squirrel was learning about traps and how to disarm them, and Chomper began to get interested in cooking, making a chestnut salad, deshelled. He finally learned the value of, taking the shells off. There was some sort of talk about Pokemon typings between Vane and Gaza that brought the first instance of the Dark Spiral being mentioned. After the poor performance in the dungeon, Zarok, the Absol leader of Team Arleon, was basically considering disbanding the team. Sigmund arrives to check... that was the Team Arleon, for the record.
Team Arleon, yeah. He was thinking about disbanding his own team.
Yeah.
because he looked at the rest of his team throughout all of this and went, "What the fuck, guys?"
Sigmund arrives to check up on Paz after finally coming somewhat back to normal. Paz had been echoing the word disappointed in his head, and basically had a lapse in memory between what happened between the Vane rant occurring and the morning. His brain was examined and it was described as a candied apple. There were some sort of memories layered on top of his own. He was also bonked on the head, and it made an Intellion-shaped shadow to spawn on top of him, that Sigmund swiftly dealt with. He took a moment to explain the concept of void parasites and how they usually come attached to the Chosen, coming from other worlds into Nargadon. Nargodon?
That's
Nargande.
supposed to be Nargande. I wrote it wrong there.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't
Yeah,
remember
that's
that name. Nargande,
That sounds-
yeah.
There you go.
It was also mentioned that Sigmund found that Paz was not a human or some other species turned Pokemon, but a Pokemon from another Pokemon world. Zarok ended up trying to explain to Vane about his dark typing, not realizing that he had not been coached about it until now, after a week of being in this world. The whole rant ended up being orchestrated by him in the hopes of letting Vane not bottle his emotions. Although, unfortunately, it ended up making things worse as Vane was now anxiously under the impression that his team hated him after his rant. Cyrus from Guild Tales ended up appearing as a cameo with the form of a Decidui and having Ruvikin try to heal Squirrel and Paz. Although unfortunately ends up putting Paz back into his entranced state, he was like the day prior after mentioning the word disappointed. Cat ends up showing up in the library and begins to interact with some of the party. The blue living Espeon substitute had the power to give others visions if they touched the time gear on his forehead. With Cyrus, he ended up having a rundown of what the party went through the last 4 days. And with Chomper, Chomper wound up having a vision of Sigmund looking ominous and evil, with a Slow King chastising him about sacrilege on top of a big mountain. It made Chomper rather afraid of the bad doctor. Sigmund had a long discussion with Vane regarding his unprofessionalism towards us the last few days, and in turn Vane was given information regarding how killing intent works in the world. Tree, the multiversal being, exists in this world, and at the moment she is in the shape of a staff that Sigmund uses. Squirrel secluded himself most of the time trying to craft something, and he wanted to make sure it was perfect before finishing up the crafting of his tail axe. Chomper and Paz were asking Samantha to train them, and she gave them a session on how clashing works. Chomper landing a blow on her by using a water gun instead of most of his mostly physical abilities he had shown thus far. Vane got a vision from Cat about a Kaza in the future that was confident about his music skills, and getting ready to perform in a concert. He was also given the idea to go deeper into the dark spiral to make it easier to get out of it, since that seems to work for other dark types in the world. Scruff ended up learning more about the topography of the land, learning that the continent was named Eden, and also learned about another organization in the land similar to the guild named the Guardian Corps. At the end of the day, most people were asleep, but Chomper was awoken by a nightmare involving Sigmund, which made him decide to try and sneak out to confront the doctor. He was caught by Cyrus and decided to instead see Sigmund in the morning. Vane went alongside Chomper, and before the Fuecocodile talked with the Dr. Delphox, Vane asked if Sigmund was some sort of divine entity, which Sigmund affirmed without elaborating. Chomper asked Sigmund to battle with him. He wanted to confirm whether Sigmund was evil because he did not want him threatening his team. Sigmund accepted and had a standoff for a moment where he was exuding malicious intent against Chomper, but Sigmund simply forfeited the match, leaving Chomper with a somewhat triumphant but tired disposition. Afterwards, there was a bit of a training session in the morning where Squirrel was doing calisthenics and Chomper tried to join him despite his body structure not being compatible with the exercises. Paz showed up to grab Chomper since they had training pending that day, and they asked Squirrel to come along. Paz and Chomper were practicing a combo move that unfortunately did not manage to work, and then Paz got some one-on-one training with Samantha regarding evasion. Oh boy.
Are you alright?
It is a lot.
Yes, it is a lot, and we're not even done with season 1.
We're almost done with season 1.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Squirrel began to perform a ritual with his tail axe to draw first blood with it so that the weapon knew not to take his owner's blood. But it was interrupted by a mischievous Zoroark named Artanis playing a prank on Squirrel using his illusion. It caused a commotion that made Squirrel rather upset and Vane livid with the Zoroark. Squirrel was eventually able to perform his ritual correctly. At some point later in the day, a bunch of doctors, 6 Audinos and a Mairiana, contacted by Sigmund, came to give the party checkups. Squirrel tried running away from the situation and even began fighting some of the Audino doctors. Bian had grabbed Squirrel and restrained him, but then he was chained down by Vane, who had seemed to have run out of patience using his recently acquired Shadow Chains move. The chained down Riolu was checked and eventually set free, who then proceeded to run away in a panic. Chomper tried to follow him, but was not let go until he himself had gotten a checkup. So Cyrus ended up following after the fleeing dragon Riolu instead. The rest of the party got checked out and Vane was checked last, being given a fairy energy treatment as well as willingly going deeper into his spiral to appease the build-up dark energy he had been building up for a while. At some point, Paz and Chomper were visited by Cat, and ended up getting visions of their own. Paz gets a vision of a red Espeon confronting and basically threatening Cat's life in a standoff, while Scruff gets a vision of a heavily injured Kaza being confronted by a Cubone Chosen who has seemingly decided to embrace being a villain. Vane had an interview with a member of the Guardian Corps named Kai Akasaki, who had been coming to Lulite to investigate the occurrences that had been going on the last few days in the area.
Also, at the beginning of the paragraph, that was supposed to be Paz and Scrub, not Paz and Chomper. Whoops.
Okay. Cyrus eventually catched up to Squirrel after the Riolu had tired himself out from his panic. Squirrel being in a dissociative state and mumbling incoherently about things not being his fault. Chomper eventually ran to look for them, but was not able to find them, the Fuecoco instead being found by Cyrus while bringing Squirrel back. Squirrel was left to rest in a bed, and Chomper was left in the training room in the library. Chomper unlocked a big memory of his past relating to his crappy home life, and remembering that he basically used to be a thief. And about the last time he saw his big brother was during a failed robbery that ended up costing him his life. At some point, several people wanted to talk to Kaza about one thing or another. Paz wanted to ask Kaza about psychic moves and energy. Chomper wanted to have a heart-to-heart after the bad memories he's gotten. And Vane insert here?
Oh, I completely forgot. I was going to ask Tal what he ended up talking with Kaza about in that day. Do you remember? Do you remember, Tal?
Off the top of my head, no.
Whoops. I completely forgot that I left insert here there. I just moved on because I was strapped for time.
So, Vane talked about something.
Vane talked about something, yeah.
Yeah.
Just taking a moment for some water.
Just a little bit of an oopsie.
Everyone was eventually hurried off to bed, with Scruff checking up on people to make sure that they actually went to bed, since most of the team has had issues when it came to that one time or another. He eventually settled down in Kaza's room, as he never picked one of his own. Kaza was looking at a book that Kulti had given him that was basically giving him a bit of a premonition to something that may happen today, and a full record of the past since the party's first day. Kaza talked to Scruff about it and basically told him to be on the alert. While Squirrel was sleeping, he ended up being visited by a shadowy entity known as Noah. Squirrel was under a lot of stress and basically had feelings that he wanted to leave after having a trauma of his resurface. Noah ended up encouraging and deciding to help Squirrel with his endeavor to run away. Noah knocked out Bian and temporarily killed Ruvicin, who were in the way, and the two were confronted by Kaza, who was in the way of the library door. Getting into an increasingly manic state, Squirrel began fighting Kaza. Meanwhile, Scruff, having observed the situation from afar, began to wake up the rest of the party. Squirrel was fighting Kaza with his weapons and inflicted a wound across the Avarice chest. The rest of the party began arriving, Vane coming first and immediately trying to restrain Squirrel with chains upon seeing the situation. Then Chomper arrived and tried to pacify Squirrel by singing a song to him. Both of these failed, and Squirrel ended up breaking out and jumping out the window to finally escape, soon being teleported far away into another continent called Icona.
As like correction, the continent is called Plego. Icana is a country in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody else take over.
There's a reason that I considered, I kind of wanted to just do like a pre-recording of this. All right. Anyone in particular want to take over?
I might need go pull up the document and fly down to where we are if there are no volunteers.
I figured that I'm gonna have to do a bunch of season 3, so.
Alright.
Yeah, I just need a small break. I can feel my voice getting strained, so. Send Enja the link and
Yeah, I'm eating it to him right now.
you can take over from season 2 there for a bit.
Alright, where were we? What page?
Season 2.
Yeah,
If you look at the tabs on the left, just click on season 2.
Oh, okay. Season 2.
Yep, literally just season 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Immediately after the incident, there was some fallout that needed to be addressed. Bane was given some of Sigmund's personal medicine to calm down, and Kaza got some medical attention for his chest. Ruvicin was revived, revealing that Sigmund was more capable of on-the-spot resurrection if he wanted to. Or more than capable. The mess in the library was quickly cleaned up, and people went back to sleep. Noah came by to apologize for what he did and ended up making a new greenhouse for the library in compensation. He was quite strange to most people, though, considering what happened the night before. Nim showed up through Tree, who was Sigmund's staff, as she was a diminished form in this world due to Arceus, or she was in a diminished form due to Arceus. This leads Nim to have a rather poor opinion of Arceus, and is more than willing to try and beat the ever-loving shit out of Arceus over it. Unfortunately, he's in a rather diminished state, as well as this world's rather restrictive on what outside influences it allows, leading to most of his powers being inaccessible. We also find out that Paz is actually someone else at the same time, and we get to meet Wade. Wade actually has his memories and is rather distraught at his current situation because he has an extremely negative opinion of Paz. Mostly due to the fact that Paz apparently overwrote his mind and personality at some point back in his world, trapping him inside his own head. When they got pulled into Norgande, the false Paz personality was made real, but since it was also kind of a shell and was only imitating the actual Paz, the original Paz's memories were implanted. The original Paz memories implanted into him were also made real, but that personality is still dormant and asleep. That means there's Paz, Wade, and Paz again inside him, technically. And the options they have are to work together and find common grounds, or have one of them end up being the true dominant personality and crush the others. Wade gets to know others, but is slightly wary about them and his newfound situation due to some personal reservations. That and the clearly spiraling dark type that's spiraling more than his world would have considered possible, being kept in check by what equates to a fairy type acid. Kaza asks to be made co-leader with the focus on actual people of his team, while Vane maintains responsibility for things like mission selections, supplies, logistics, and tactical decisions in combat. Nim takes this opportunity at breakfast to offer the group a nice spa day at the Treeway Resort, but disregards the warning about gods potentially keeping an eye on them on the party due to their status as chosen. Vane discovers that CL is under a compulsion and enlists Sigmund's help to figure out what is going on. CL is under a compulsion based by Cresselia about 18 months ago, intentionally being made to mistrain Kaza in particular. Vane does not take this news well, and his medicine stops working on him as he destabilizes out of sheer anger. Chomper and Kaza have a nice long conversation in the resort where Chomper pours his heart out to Kaza, and Kaza promises to keep giving Chomper chances so long as he keeps trying. Chomper gets a tail ribbon from Kaza after this, which instantly becomes a boon item. However, while the party was mostly away from the library, the gods took notice of the teleportation and that some chosen were missing, and decided to take their displeasure out by bombing the library, something that they apparently weren't supposed to do, as they were supposed to never attack the library. Bean got Scruff out of the blast radius, straining his Wonder Guard in order to handle it to some degree. Minor correction, Bean didn't actually manage to evacuate the area. He grabbed Scruff and got him over to Samantha and shielded the both of them.
Oh, okay, I thought they started moving away.
No,
Not enough time.
Okay,
yeah, it wasn't enough time. The team was coming, and he basically just like got on top of them and activated Wonder Guard to shield them from it.
Yep, understandable.
Yes. Culty came by to fix the issue and informed Nim that a lot of Chosen have already landed themselves in trouble since the gods brought them over to be villains instead of heroes, so everyone they chose was intentionally dysfunctional at least one way, and they were going to mess with their heads to make us worse, but most of the Chosen got void parasites which protected their memories, which explains a lot. The party overall didn't take this news very well, considering that this meant that they were all empirically dysfunctional or evil in some way, and the gods themselves thought they would be great at causing problems and being villains. Chomper made a grave mistake when he asked Samantha, someone who we know to be touchy about her dating life, out, and then immediately after shot her down before she could really respond, as he remembered that he was gay. Samantha responded proportionally by inverting Chomper's face and sending him flying.
I'm not sure if that is actually a proportional response, though.
I have to put some things in a funny way. Come on.
To be entirely fair, proportionally some quotation marks in there.
Yes.
That is also
Fair
Sigmund
enough, I
made
can't
Vane-
see because I'm off getting water, but yeah.
Fair.
Sigmund made Vane new meds that were strong enough to handle the new amount of dark type energy and got to work on a project that would solve things without needing to Vane to constantly be on what equates to horrifically powerful sedatives. Kaza keeps Vane company while Sigmund deals with some things. Sigmund ends up enchanting Vane's goggles to shunt his dark type energy into his own shadow. Chomper made up a day called Friendship Day, where it's all about friendship and gifts and the like in order to try and spread some amount of unity and happiness after the events that occurred. Vane sees and encounters Kaza and Yegor, which he does not take sanely to. He decides that Yegor is a problem and he needs to be dealt with later. The team in general decides to take some time off and relax for a few days due to everything that's been going on, deciding to head back to Hamoa for a break, explore things like Hamoa's farm and local points of interest, while Vane plans out his first actual criminal action by stalking and observing Yegor and the rest of Yegor's team. Once he was ready, he tricked Yegor into exhausting himself with a competition before killing him in a brutal fashion inside Yegor's team room while the rest of the team was out. Afterwards, he hit again and killed the other two while their guards were down. Cleaning up after himself and the evidence, he disappeared into the night to meet with Sigmund and help Sigmund's hidden project. Afterwards, Noah showed up again with a book to try to prove that Squirrel isn't fully in control of himself and what happens to Kaza. It helped in some aspects of the situation, but not others, given that Squirrel is still self-aware enough to locate and grab things in the library, leaving some party members still unsure about what to do. Chomper was very excited about the book, though, using it as evidence that Squirrel was innocent. Pyro showed up and made a rather unexpected and unprompted declaration of Vane being a murderer. He was right, but he came across as rather untrustworthy, considering that he also admitted he wasn't sure how his powers worked. We also found out that Kalti was going to come and visit and tell us some important things and answer our questions. He tried to get around to answering some questions, but that only made Vane more focused on them, even more as Kalti got more and more flustered by Vane not giving him an inch when it came to information. During the conversation, Vane recognized multiple habits and tics that he was very familiar with due to all the time he spent with Kaza and the recent exposure to Noah and his quirks. He desperately wanted to be wrong, though. He was not. It turns out that Kalti was a mix of Kaza and Noah from many, many timelines ago, and they were actually stuck in a time loop. The party did not like the idea that they were going in a time loop, considering that Kalti didn't remember how long it had been going on for, because he'd lost track a long time ago. So, the party has a new thing to attempt to deal with, on top of now knowing that everything that they were villains, the gods were apocalyptic, and the invaders were trying to kill everyone. Meanwhile, Kalti had a bit of a breakdown because of the questioning and being around Vane for an extended period of time. Kalti ends up leaving after a bit, and the party starts trying to deal with the new information that we were interrupted by another divine intervention where Groudon caused a fissure to open up. Groudon later sends a representative to apologize, while Sigmund very nearly kills him before telling him to leave. Scruff freaked out a bit due to void parasite shenanigans mixed with being surprised due to water and being grabbed all of a sudden from a quake, leading to him getting back some worrying memories. We end up back with Atrano and Artanis of Team Ovation, who seem rather interested in everything that's going on and looking to investigate, hanging around the team and asking some questions of us. We quickly figure out that they are transients themselves on a mission from the Academy to investigate why so many people are being grabbed into this world. Meanwhile, Nim successfully convinces Tree to tell him about Sigmund and his past, while Sigmund does not quite appreciate his privacy being ignored by Tree and ends their friendship almost on the spot. Tree then mostly hangs out with Nim for now. Chomper spends a fair amount of time with Nim, learning a good amount of things about cooking and how to howl. He also discovers that he can listen to people and their hearts, getting special music tracks that represent how a person is and how they're doing. He can use his power he can use this to power himself up in a battle. Each of these are called Heart Sense and Battle Beat. The group then spends some time doing a mix of missions and training, with Samantha heading a rather grueling training session to help make sure everyone is up to snuff with people. However, after training the group from Squirrel's Adventure shows up after their experiences, and chaos ensues immediately, with minor arguments and interpersonal issues immediately flaring up. The two parties eventually manage to work through enough of their problems to exist around each other without overt issues, but there are still some rather tense. Things are still rather tense overall. There's an emergency at the all hands meeting at the guild hall relating to news of Giratina rampaging throughout Icona, after which Chomper makes a wish to understand Sigmund, Vane, and the Dark Spiral better. The time instance ensues almost immediately, the errant wish being granted in a rather spectacular fashion, leaving most of the party, Squirrel's Adventure Group, and Team Abation inside a time instance where Vane is stripped of his goggles and all his medicine is missing, and most importantly, Kaza wasn't there to keep him calm. After all, there was a wish to fulfill, and what better way to make Chomper understand someone's things than to make sure that Vane would spiral quite heavily while learning about Sigmund's past.
All
And
right.
what we learn from the lair itself,
Well, I think we'll.
summary.
What were we saying, Zim?
I think we'll come back to that.
Oh,
'Cause
You
I
want
think we
to go
should-
over Squirrel's Adventure first? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can summarize
Alright.
Squirrel's Adventure since I was a player there.
Sure, go ahead.
Give me a moment, I need to do
Hey.
something.
Page 16, then.
Okay. Squirrel's Adventures. Squirrel was transported to a town in the Kingdom of Icana in the Plagoa continent. He saw Noah fish out a Sharpedo after being told to look for a dummy and using his powers to give someone a light lobotomy. Noah ended up gathering a bunch of people by basically asking for help on the side of the road in a town, ended up recruiting El Baroda the Quagsire, Pyroclast the Charmeleon, and Zephyr the Cyndaquil. He was sent to head to the castle by Miss Holly the Minor to meet the Queen. On the carriage, the party met and joined Burton the Charizard, and once they got to the castle, Aquarel, the royal guard and current caretaker of Noah, greeted them and joined them. The summoner Pokemon ended up meeting the Queen, and who got interested in Squirrel after finding out he was a human-turned Pokemon, and declared him a royal asset to the Kingdom of Icana, and basically tasked the Pokemon accompanying him to see him for a while to watch over him. All of them agreed except for Zephyr, who left and was never seen again. Squirrel, yep. Squirrel made his chestplate up. Squirrel made a chestplate apology present for Kaza. The party ended up messing with the royal blacksmith after he was mean to Noah for the color imbalance of his fur that was happening at that moment, because the party was in a very positive mood at that moment, and it was affecting Noah. Squirrel ended up getting a vision from a tree that asked him to take Noah to it, who was later surmised to be Cernias, the goddess of life. Aquarel overheard Queen Victoria and her butler talking about replacing him because he was apparently beginning to get attached to Noah. Noah had gone missing. Looking for him, the party went to the guild and learned about the situation about the invaders. Noah was found at Holly's mansions being punished for disobeying orders. The party ended up busting him out and then took shelter on Burton's place. where they had an encounter with pure white Noah after a big group hug. Marten used his psychic powers to speak to Noah in his mind and learn a bit about the time Noah was taken away from his original home. The party finds a ghost type spying on them and coercing him to not speak. Noah ends up telling us where we were actually being watched by several ghost types all over the place, making us paranoid. He was not supposed to tell us about that, but he thought that we were trustworthy enough to tell us about it. Aquarel is given an important letter by the Sableye butler of the Queen, which turns out to be an invitation to find the hidden village of Anaver in the mountains after we decipher his instructions. Noah ends up showing the party his many notes about how he should behave, which they end up going through, disagreeing with a lot of them. On the next day, Bex the Charmander ends up disappearing with Aquarel's map to Anaver to show it off to a Drampa named Silas that he is fond of. After being chastised and dealing with a Mimikyu spying on us, a conversation came up where Elba and Lap found Bex, which turned out to be a dungeon in the Kingdom of Daybreak, a rather feared name. The party had become increasingly paranoid due to all the spying that had occurred on them recently, and we decided that it was best to skip town. Telling our plight to the guild, they lent us one of the experimental teleporters. The teleportation went off without issue, except for the fact that the party ended up being teleported into the void for the briefest of moments. Some of them even got to witness Lord Giratina in the flesh before being pushed out, and we ended up at the top of the mountain, with Noah buried inside of the mountain. See? No issues at all.
Yeah. Fun.
After dealing with that, the party ended up riding on Marten to try and scale down the mountain. We ended up meeting Shia, Noah's previous caretaker. We learned that Noah has been starving while in Victoria's custody because the only thing he can properly eat was some black liquid that only Shia knew how to make. A few conversations happen. Aquarel figures out that the Queen specifically gets people like him, people who will not care for Noah, to be his caretaker. Marten had a combo with Noah using his real voice and his real and very damaged voice to explain to him how his gesture, appearance, and personality may be a mental shield to block his pain that he has suffered over the years. Pyroclast ended up finding out that Shia was chosen from 30 years ago, and it was revealed that Pyroclast is a human Pokemon that came 3 to 4 years ago himself. Elba ended up learning and taking notes on how to do the ritual to procure food for Noah. Krell ends up trying to practice Aura and ends up accidentally performing the mind-body swap jutsu on Aquarel. Elba ends up pushing Squirrel out, and he ends up inside of Noah's consciousness for a few moments, where Squirrel learns his original name, Duke, from a bunch of talking eyeballs in Noah's mind. Squirrel worked on a badge for Chomper inside of Shia's workshop, and I believe and then ended up blowing it up by accident. The party ends up getting a tour of Anaver from Shia.
Not blowing it up, melting it down.
Oh, melting it down.
Or was it a whitesmith forge, not a blacksmith forge? No, that's like an actual question.
I've never heard of whitesmith, but it was for
Shia
things that melt at lower temperatures, like jewelry.
Yeah, Shia was mostly a jeweler maker. So is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Not quite, but yeah.
Fair. The party ends up getting a tour of Anaver from Shia, and afterwards a few of them began training during the day. The party and Squirrels and Elba end up entering a temporary entrance of the Anaver Forest dungeon that Shia was in the middle of exploring. They had an encounter with the Weaves who tried to apologize to Squirrel, but Squirrel was not there. Instead, he tried to sell a Pechaberry to the poison Pyroclast at an inflated price. The dungeon boss seemed unhappy to see Shia. Apparently, she had gone through the dungeon so much that the dungeon and its Pokemon remember her, and they were not happy to see her. On the next day, the party began to make preparations to go to the dungeon properly. Marten and Shia went on a brief date. Pyroclast, through Noah, ended up going to Eden and ends up confronting the other party. He accused Bane and Casa of murder as well as Scruff, exclaiming his soul side let him see such things. The situation was heated, but it ended up being de-escalated by Chomper and Wade. Pyroclast ended up sharing information with Team Chaos and vice versa before returning. Unbeknownst to Pyro, Bane ended up attaching a piece of his shadow onto Pyroclast before he returned back to Plagoa with Noah. Pyroclast was chastised heavily for what he did, mostly by Elba, although the blow was somewhat softened after it was revealed that Pyroclast had failed to learn a lot about this role in his time here, because he was being kept in a state of blissful ignorance by his buddy Edge, which also meant that his boy parasite had been incubated for quite a while, because it hasn't been dealt with. The preparations were cut short after Noah gave us a message by a colleague of Akril that the Royal Knights were on their way to the mountains. The party ends up deciding to take Noah to Cernia, surmising that a legendary might be able to tell us more of what's going on with Noah. On the way there, Pyroclast was attacked by the piece of shadow that Bane followed earlier, but by the piece of shadow of Bane that followed him earlier, but was quickly dealt with. I believe the shadow mainly attacked because it was like starving.
Or something. I got
Yeah.
no clue.
It wasn't supposed to be dormant for this long, so it just kind of fired.
Yeah. The party ended up finding that Cernia's sanctuary was a decrepit forest that had a bunch of dead trees, and it was actually permeating dark type energy. That shouldn't be the case, and was full of creatures that were later identified as angels, which donned the colors of Ibero, the Cernia's counterpart and the god of death. I believe it was Skrull who ended up seeing the halos of the angels with his aura sense, because they're not actually visible normally, and Elba ended up identifying them as angels because of that. The party ended up finding out that's okay. The party ended up distracting and maneuvering past the angels and met Cernas, who was in tree form. Cernas explained to the party that she was unaware of the happenings with the other gods, and the reason she wanted Noah to be brought here is because he is the corpse of Hell after it was destroyed by the gods. And the reason Hell has remained gone is because all the souls within it coalesced together into Noah. We agreed to let Cernas do the thing she wanted to do on the condition that she would keep Noah alive, for we wanted him to live, and we convinced Noah to go through with it. Unfortunately, Cernas was much less benevolent than we thought and was really trying to kill Noah. Once the party realized that Noah was in danger, a few things happened. Burden used his psychic powers to enter Noah alongside Squirrel and found out that what was happening inside of Noah was him being impaled from the inside with fairy energy, which was the first time Noah had felt pain. Akril and Pyroclast were doing their best to stabilize Noah, but he was a bit lost, as Noah on the outside was just beginning to melt. Physically melt. Elbas was in disbelief of what was happening and seemed to be losing focus, but eventually snapped out of it and proceeded to do something that Cernas was not expecting. Elba ended up performing the ritual to open a gateway to the void and used an extreme amount of Poke borrowed from Burden to do so, and ended up opening a rift big enough that Giratina clawed his way out of. Giratina was not happy seeing the scene in front of him with Cernias killing Noah, who was at some point revealed to basically be his adopted son. And the god of the boy ended up unleashing his anger, upon Cernias. Meanwhile, Skrull and Burden ended up breaking the thing that was harming Noah, and Burden ended up using his own vitality to stabilize Noah after he was harmed so badly. Burden ended up regressing into a Charmander. He devolved from giving up his life energy to Noah, or whatever happened. There was some sort of transfer happening. While Noah was no longer dying, but in a really bad shape, something sprang from out of him that took the shape of a giant Basque Legion. On the outside, Giratina was fighting Cernias, and Squirrel was also going berserk on the tree deer for harming his friend. Although ineffectual, Doriolo was trying his best to harm the deer god. He got kicked away and moonbeamed for his trouble, Squirrel only surviving through a combination of a protect from Elba and Noah using some of his vitality to help Squirrel. While the battle went on, a bunch of rifts in space ended up opening in the sky. Giratina addressed the party and recognized them as Noah's friends, did them a favor and ended up having them all go into the same rift in space instead of being sucked away into different ones like it was originally intended, which led to the entire group from Icana being teleported into the Eden continent, right on top of the Grand Library. And that's Squirrel's Adventures. A very condensed version of it.
Alright. Now I think we'll move back to the rest of Season 2. Which I can go ahead and take over.
Sounds good.
What we learned from the lair itself. Sigmund was born about 60 years ago in the Daybreak Kingdom, and covertly handed over to an orphanage that secretly smuggles deviants out of the kingdom. His mother was the queen, and her name for her child is Ari Xavier Lockhart. Her relationship with her husband is not a good one, and she had to be very secretive about this. In response to Sigmund's birth as a shiny, he declared a bounty on every deviant to be brought to him alive, so he could kill them personally. The Audino caretaker actually cares about them, and hides them in a secret basement. After a year, an awful magic user outed her associates to blackmail her into handing over a deviant child, as he believes they're inherently superior in magic. He intentionally mistreats Sigmund and taught him incorrectly, but Sigmund found some way to educate himself. Sigmund then killed his adopted father by encouraging a heart attack in the barbarical. He stays until he eats everything, loots the house, and leaves. Sigmund realized he was unable to interact as he couldn't speak even a word, and they wouldn't read his cards, and found him suspicious under his cloak. After a day, a friendly and idiotic Mindfu shows up and starts talking at him, but he gave him food. Sigmund slowly learns to talk just to insult him, but is passively fond of him. Then after a time, the Mindfu, named CL, just vanishes. Sigmund, able to speak, decides to try and find him and leaves. Sigmund comes upon the library and stays inside it for a long time. The current owner is a Mydiana named Edward. Bean is still present, and the party learns he's robotic, an all-purpose, extraplanar observational unit that isn't in very good condition. They also get their hands on Giratina's Bible and discover that there is supposed to be a cycle of reincarnation for the gods that Giratina is exempt from. They also know the library has a secret basement for all the original books, and all the ones on the shelves are copies made, even the books in the restricted section. Welcome home, Ido. Congrats on the 350 streak. Eventually, Sigmund leaves after the library practically delivers him to the academy, where he stays and takes tests to become a licensed doctor, and signs on with the guild as a solo team, a breaks-in at this point. He had a dangerous encounter with criminals that got his head cut off, but he can still puppet his body with psychic energy and reattach his head. He kills them all and
Sorry for the interruption. I just had to point out that the academy is different from the academy that we mentioned before. There's two academies in it. Yeah,
two academies just called the Academy?
Yes, there's one in the world and one that's the multiversal organization.
That Artanis not trying to come from.
I can elaborate more if needed, but basically plagiarism.
Because culty. The original culty is a member of the Academy, so when our culty was trying to emulate him, he named a part of the organization the Academy.
Lamau. I actually didn't know that, but I should have guessed.
That was just my guess, but Digi just confirmed it, basically. So yeah, that's why there's 2 organizations named the Academy.
Wow.
Yeah, Artanis and Atrona were from the same organization that the original culty came from. Trying to figure out that an area that should have been saved is in a worse condition now.
Question mark?
Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, you can continue. Sorry for the interruption.
Alright, but yeah, he kills them all and collapses from exsanguination. Blood loss. Eventually, Sigmund just happens upon CL in a different guild branch on another continent, being ridiculously powerful, and afterwards took him aside to yell at him, only to be baffled at his abilities that defied sense, and eventually joined his team. CL was only good at fighting and didn't seem to comprehend teamwork or going slower. Sigmund was furious and forced to become more physically capable. He managed to somehow cover everything CL couldn't. CL even seemed anxious that he'd leave and agreed to ask Sigmund to stay as long as he listened as best as he could. They become very fond of one another and even intimate. CL took him to the desolate mountain to meet his secret friend at the top, Tree, and Sigmund's mind was practically fracturing. However, they went on other-world adventures, where things were much more dangerous. Sigmund eventually evolved. One day CL got lost and Sigmund did anything to become more powerful. He went to Arceus's church and made crass comments during a service to get the god's attention, and left as a saint. Eventually, he brought CL back, who had been missing for 17 years, and disbanded the team. Arceus still blew up Tree for how much Sigmund had visited her, and he tried to kill Arceus and failed. Arceus withdrawing their powers and even some of Sigmund's soul. Culty took Sigmund to Marten, who tied him together with something that would let his hostility compensate for the damage. Sigmund now legitimately survives on spite. On the side, we also enlisted the aid of a demon god of sloth, who would rebuild hell in exchange for a planeswalker's spark, and Nim working with him. They also gained the book, the Grand Ascendance, where the gods willingly broke the natural cycle to stop their forced reincarnation. That culty also got turned into an Esper, and seems to have vanished with Atrano when Artanis pushed him into another timeline.
So responsible. Thank you, Artanis. Very cool.
Seems to be a general vibe of the entire frickin' cast of NPCs here.
Maybe it's just something. Maybe it's just something that happens with anyone associated with any academy.
Maybe.
Clearly, the education system has failed us.
Isn't
Yes, thank you,
Pyro
Artanis.
also connected to it?
He did in fact connect to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he signed up.
That explains a lot.
I believe it was mentioned that Elba was in the academy once at some point, but not for long.
The World Academy. Yeah.
Yeah, the World Academy.
Vane should really get to complaining about the naming thing. It's just harder because it's not in the same world. How is he supposed to explain that the reason he hates it is because there's a multiversal entity with the exact same name active in the area?
I mean, if we're going to pass copyright playerism lines and have to include the entire multiverse in it, at that point we can't name anything. So,
Well, yeah, but that isn't going to stop Vane from complaining about the dumbassery.
I'm out fair.
I appreciate Vane's restraint on complaining at Scruff for Scruff living on a mountain known as the mountain, which is not to be confused with all the other mountains in the area.
To be fair, him complaining about that will do nothing, considering he just expects that Scruff will forget it even if he goes back home. So he's not going to waste the time.
The mountain.
Oh,
Are you going to continue with the other subtitle?
Yes. What we learned from the Time Tears. 0. The world was very different before the time loop started, but everyone is still there as a team. Sigmund seems more approachable. 200. Kalti was very different in the past, flamboyant and clear-headed, able to very clearly express his feelings and trust things to happen as they need to. Sigmund, Rallis, Zarok, and Bien will stand against Kalti when he's doing something objectively wrong and fight with Kaza. 712. Noah is very vulnerable to peer pressure, and Sigmund will take drastic measures to get him to calm down and get more time to find a better way. 1365. Sigmund is intelligent in a lot of ways and knows CL's stances don't work for Kaza, and helps him correct them. 2246. Sigmund snaps at Kalti for letting them go somewhere that could have killed them easily, and CL forcefully subdues him to calm him down. Kalti urgently tells himself not to come here after their first adventure. 8904. Sigmund faces off against a very different party in his secret basement that serve the gods, telling them he's gonna fire the bomb in 5 minutes. Edge tells him he doesn't give a shit about this world, he wants to get Alex and go home. 13498. Sigmund finds out about the bloodline curse and murders his father and the royal guard, taking a mysterious stone from the king's body and eating it, making him king and a psychic dark type. 25877. Sigmund is aware of when a timeline fails, and usually leaves with Kaza. 33275. A team confronts Arceus, who is just the most despicable, reprehensible person ever, and is waiting for Sigmund to come back and apologize to him. He even kept the soul scraps. Kaza's rage for a moment eclipses even Sigmund's. 45403. Sigmund and Vayne have the least personal battle to the death, and it seems even in Spiral, Vayne had no ill will towards him. They might have been actual friends. 51,004. Sigmund is still able to find transient Vayne and helps out with him and a transient Kaza, dropping off things so they can be normal and maybe undo some of the damage they endured on their adventures. Transient Vayne seems powerfully intent on letting Kaza be okay again. 64-295. Sigmund consoles Kalti and affirms that they do have a relationship that he can't quite put into words, as he tells Kalti about his friends and his relations with them, their paths, the interactions, and anything else he needs to remember. 7877. Sigmund is trying to find some way to keep the Kalti copies alive with piles of journals he leaves for himself. It seems that Kalti is fractured, and the copies have to return their pieces of Kalti to him for him to be whole again, but they'd cease to exist. And then line 0 Sigmund. In the frozen world from before the time loops, Sigmund waits outside Temporal Tower that's been bound in chains. He can see through the currently active timelines, so he's aware of what's up and happy to answer questions. He's also stolen and recreated the gods' power to perfectly optimize his own skill set and be a deity in his own right superior to them. Each chain is a separate, looped timeline, and he'd be able to interact with them to retrieve items from inside of them. He's also the leader of the Dungeon Merchants, who are a former civilization before the gods destroyed Hell, and decided to purge the world to cease recorded history of their wrongdoing. As a more inherently magically inclined civilization, they decided to be proactive and cast a grand ritual to create the mystery dungeons, and mysteriously vanished. He looked forward to testing the group, but now isn't the time. And now I say we do the what if.
Okay. I can continue doing the what if you like.
Sounds good. The what if for Squirrel's Adventures.
Okay. So the what if started before we ended up with, going to our journey to Caesarius and while we were staying with Shia. Burden ended up having a more extended day with Shia that was somewhat sweet and somewhat awkward, while the rest of the team were doing their own things, with the overarching theme being preparations to enter the gold rank dungeon in Annever. The party ended up trying to teach Noah the concept of moves and fighting as a Pokemon, after finding out that Noah doesn't really know any moves and simply seeks his shadow at people when he needs to fight back, which tends to deal excessive damage. We went into the dungeon. On the first floor, we had an encounter with tanky grass types that were made even tankier with the terrain of the room. Bex the Charmander ended up missing an ember and set the terrain on fire, messing up the strategy of the dungeon Pokemon but getting half of the party burned in the process. We made short work of the dungeon Pokemon afterwards and went on to the next floor. On the second floor, we found an encounter with special Dittos that transform into the thing that you fear the most while taking your stats instead of mimicking your appearance. It ended up locking onto Burden and turned into his former wife, which made quite the encounter, as Burden was one of the strongest members in the group at the time. We did manage to mostly defeat it, although before vanishing, it ended up locking onto Bex and turning into some sort of glitchy silhouette that spoke to the little Chamberlain to wait right here before rupturing and being destroyed. Those events kind of made Burden realize a bit of an awful truth. Bex is his biological son, and that last form that Ditto was trying to take was his former wife abandoning the kid all those years ago. Burden had accumulated a large amount of Dragon Rage that he ended up unleashing on the Pokemon on floor 3. The bandit ended up going through the 4th floor while being mostly careful to take encounters slowly, except for Burden. At some point in the dungeon run, Bex separated from the party and put most people in a panic. Skrull ended up finding him by using his aura sense, sitting down next to the golden stairs and in the process of eating a dragon-type gem. After a bit of chastising for breaking the rules of not straying too far away from everyone, and getting some of the items left behind from the panic searching, the party ended up going through the golden stairs. They ended up finding a bazaar floor with a lot of stuff inside. The main attractions being Aquarel getting a fighting gem for Squirrel, Burden a dragon-type gem for Squirrel, and an ice-type gem for Elba. Pyroclast finding some storage gem shards that intrigue him, Skull getting a golden ribbon, and being taught about the dungeon merchants being able to reroll their shops into different kinds. In this instance, rolling a trap merchant into a tailor, which he used to upgrade his wonder bags that's attached to his outfit. After we got out of the dungeon, Skrull ended up crafting a spiral accessory for Pyroclast, as well as putting sockets into his weapons that he could slot type gems into. Burden ended up discussing with Bex about being his father, the little Chamberlain seemingly taking it in stride. Skrull went to train with Aquarel, Burden, and then Elba, trying to teach him about attacking non-lethally with weapons, as the Riolo was somewhat afraid of using his weapons after his fight with Kaza. Lap the Slacker was under the impression that Sia was evil, or at least hiding something from them, which led to Elba talking with her directly and learning a few things. That Sia had been keeping in touch with Noah over the years, and that it was apparently Colty that ended up tipping the Queen about where Noah was located and manipulated her to basically steal him. For what reason we didn't know at the time, which we now know that is just because Culty hates Noah. Noah ended up using his strange powers to briefly evolve Vex into a Charizard and Burden into a Mega Charizard X, which Burden stormily decided to try and maintain beyond his capabilities and ended up reopening his neck injury. He was given a surgery by Chia to try and heal it properly. Pyroclast and Edge ended up discussing their role and made Pyro spawn a boy parasite for the first time in who knows how long. Noah ended up deciding they ended up detecting someone coming towards them that were pretty dangerous. Two assassins that are Noah's handlers, the people that makes Noah calm down when he goes berserk. Elba went to warn the people about the assassins and inspired them so much that they decided to begin making traps for the assassins. Lap was teleported into the stratosphere by Noah after Stako had been bragging to him for a while, which led to a discussion explaining the concept of death to Noah. After rescuing Lap, he was sedated and made to believe that it was all a dream thanks to Burden. Pyroclast ended up interrogating Edge for quite a while, discussing a bunch of stuff that Pyroclast already knew about, but also bringing up that the people that caused the accident of their product animation may have been Pokemon, or that their world got invaded by Pokemon at some point. Well, ended up getting a memory back that was positive, involving him and a teacher of his back when he was a human. The Pandy ended up extrapolating that the ritual that Shia uses to bring Noah that food only he can eat is actually a ritual that opens a portal to the Distortion Realm / the Void, where Giratina lives. The party decided that it was a great idea to use the ritual to summon him fully. They end up finding out that Noah is actually Giratina's adopted son, as Noah apparently spawned in the Void and was later pushed into the mortal plane by Giratina so that he could experience the real world, for the Void is a place that has nothing but debris and void entities. It was also revealed that the food Noah was drinking is actually Giratina's own ichor. A long time was spent updating Giratina about the things that the party knows, as well as the seeming state of the world. You know, about how the gods are misbehaving and stuff, among other things. The assassins arrive and reveal themselves to be Smeargles named Fi and Fei, alongside an Eevee named Ayato, who seemed to be a chaperone for them. This Ayato character seemed to have been involved in the event where Shia ended up getting a wound when the Royal Knight arrived to take Noah away from her. And actually, I ended up listening for the into recording, and it was Ayato directly the blow to Shia. The two were about to go into a bit of a standoff, but Noah dissuaded the Shia from actually fighting Ayato, and the two ended up stepping aside to arbitrate the fight that was about to occur between the party and the assassins. We also ended up finding out that they seem to be the equivalent of the concept of liches, the two Smeargles, that they could revive as long as the thing that housed their soul was not broken. Pi and Faye portrayed themselves as very nasty villains, but they were also playful and saw the party as beneath them, so they decided to allow the party to fight them while restraining themselves. Lap ended up naming a bunch of stuff that they decided to agree to. If I remember correctly, it was like they could only attack Burden first, they couldn't use items, they couldn't take Bex as hostage because he was inside of the house, and probably a few more. The fight went on for a while, Squirrel doing his best to try and hit them, Elba using his glare to remove the armor that the Smeargles were wearing that seemed to prevent ailments at the cost of durability, Burden and Aggro being the main damage dealers, and Noah ended up helping out by making one of the Smeargles techniques and giving the entire party a stack of amp. Pyroclast ended up going into an aggressive dark spiral after he believed Edge had been killed at some point. He was instead teleported away by Giratina before the killing blow could be dealt. But Pyroclast didn't get to see that, so he went on to a rage. Lap ended up breaking his truant out of desperation, because despite it being 2 against 6, it was still quite the uphill battle for the team. The battle eventually ended after one of the Smeargles got knocked out after Pyroclast ended up scratching his phylactery with a sword strike after getting edge back and Burden knocking him out with a share attack that was hitting both of them. Two assassins ended up losing the battle fair and square. Despite their seeming ruthlessness, they never broke any of their self-imposed rules. But after their defeat, they ended up running away into the forest, one of them killing the one that was down and retrieving what was assumed to be their core. The party was in hot pursuit and ended up finding the one Smeargle with two tails. Which we ended up finding out that apparently the Smeargle brothers are actually a single entity that ends up splitting itself apart for convenience. At least that's what they said. It seems like a second round of combat was about to start, but the few Smeargle ended up negotiating with us to stop the fight in exchange for information on Noah that we wouldn't be able to get easily. The party agreed, and we ended up learning about the horrible experiments that Noah went through while in Icana, about the pill that they eventually invented to sedate him, how they kept feeding him various types of pure energy that ended up causing various effects on his body. Until eventually Noah ended up with the jester appearance that he currently has, and the fallout of it all was horrendous for the people involved, as Noah ended up going berserk and attacked all the scientists. The party ended up not finding the Smeargles and went on to an expedition to see Cernius in the end. This time with Shia, Giratina, and the Smeargle brothers in tow, at Noah's request. This time around, Cernius was much more nervous upon seeing Giratina be alongside the people she was expecting. Her demeanor was much more blunt and much less regal. The encounter went more or less with the party questioning Cernius about her intentions and figure out that ultimately the reason she was to resurrect Hell is simply because it will end up weakening her counterpart Ibetal, who is currently winning in their balance of power. Giratina was not amused at the prospect of Cernius killing his son, and the goddess of life was very much not relenting in this instance. So Giratina and the party ended up fighting and crippling Cernius and ultimately banishing her into the void. Afterwards, the party reunited themselves to officially become a party together. Under Giratina's blessings, to be a task force to begin correcting the behavior of the gods of the world, as Giratina decided that they needed to be taught a lesson. And that's how the what if scenario ended. While none of that happens in the main game, Squirrel, Elba, Laps, and Beck got all of their memories from all of that. Specifically.
I already did too.
Yeah, I believe Pyroclast did too.
All right, Tal. You're up for Season 3.
Alright, in a couple minutes I'm gonna have to grab something real quick, but let's see how much of this I can get through as I skim. Because it's already 9 p.m.
We've still got 2 hours.
For me, at least. Oh yeah, I know. Alright, Season 3 start. The party leaves the time instance only to find out that the Wish wasn't quite done with things, having replaced the vein that they were used to with one from the parallel timeline, since that one had recovered most memories, unlike theirs. Since Chomper had included Understanding Vein in his wish, the Wish did what it could to maximize the amount that Chomper could find out. Begrudgingly, he explained a bit of his past, having been warned that something funny, quote-unquote, would happen by his culty, and the details of the wish by the original Sigmund. There were discussions about the state of things, that the timeline was probably in rough shape if it had gone parallel instead of sequential, and we needed to try and put a stop to it in as few loops as possible, preferably this one. This version of Vane was a guild auditor, which was a big deal, with how the guild staff reacted to seeing his badge information. Interestingly, this version of Vane had a rather negative opinion of Sigmund, which started his and Squirrel's interactions mildly positive, but that wasn't to last. Squirrel was not a fan of the idea that he had to be on a team with other people, instead expressing that he didn't care if the timeline depended on it or not. This started an argument over it, which ended in Squirrel leaving the meeting. The meeting continued without him, with the idea of a group training exercise being popular among those still there. It was set up to happen later in the day, and the people that were in the meeting dispersed to smaller groups to discuss things, like the time instance and various other timelines we saw. Wade went to talk with Sigmund, and even had a bit of a Squirrel. Wade went to talk with Squirrel, and he even had a bit of training spar with him. However, Squirrel wasn't really putting his all into it, which Wade could notice, leading to them having a bit of a talk about weapons and the safe usage of them. Squirrel got a memory soon after, activating his void parasite and getting back a rather negative memory that didn't help his poor mood. Meanwhile, discussions continued. The team training happened, where the entire point was to work with someone else to foster some sense of unity. Because the alternate Vane knew he wasn't exactly popular, he made it so there were multiple different trainers available in case they wanted to put up with someone else. A bit of an incident occurred with Kaza, where half the party found out that he had been putting himself under a self-geas in order to basically convince himself that things were okay. He was convinced to break the geas and basically break down to release all that pent-up frustration that he had been accumulating. The alternate Vane proposes to change his name to Samuel while he is staying here, so as to not give any more grief than he was already feeling from the Vane of this world being gone, as well as just to put a stop to the general confusion of if they were referencing him or the actual Lick timeline Vane. Wade, Pyro, and Edge faced off against alternate Vane, with their training and challenge being to land a hit against him. This proved to be more difficult than they thought, considering that he was using threads to manipulate and mess with their movements and actions, applying stunned. With a combination of them being stun-locked and Samuel having a rather nasty parry build, he was making it very hard on them despite not moving or even attacking back yet. Wanting to see if they'd work together with combo attacks or with conferring strategy, Samuel was saying things that he thought would goad them. It was supposed to be a teamwork exercise, after all. Luckily, Pyro managed to slightly distract Samuel by using his soul sight, which Samuel took special note of for some reason. Taking advantage of this, Wade managed to land a grazing hit against Samuel, winning the exercise with some unorthodox teamwork. Samuel then gave them the option of continuing, this time with him actually fighting back, but still not moving from his spot. This resulted in him almost immediately pulling them adjacent to him with his threads and using a magic spell to defeat all three of them. The three only managed to touch him once before they were completely locked down, which makes Wade go livid from how strong Samuel is with only being in the world for about 2 weeks, the same amount as the Lick timeline. Then it was time for Kaza and Scruff to take part in the training, choosing to go through an obstacle course instead of sparring against Samuel, especially since he warned he would be actually trying since his Kaza was stronger than him and he expected that would remain the case here. Samuel also asked Kaza very nicely to not just teleport them to through the course, as that would defeat the purpose. So Kaza and Scruff ran through the obstacle course, finding it surprisingly difficult to progress normally, instead getting very creative with a mixture of using Shadow Claws, platforms, and Protect as a solid jumping ground when needed. Pyroclast ends up finding out that Artanis is an entity from outside this world that belongs to an organization called the Academy. Artanis also gets in trouble with the Academy because he was supposed to be teaching Atrano, and instead Atrano was in Samuel's timeline now. Squirrel, meanwhile, was learning about Aura and the like from Rallis, who naturally has a high amount despite lacking the fighting type. This is likely due to a mix of CL and a rather physically active lifestyle, specifically how to attack non-lethally with weapons. Rallis started giving Squirrel advice after noticing that Squirrel seemed down about things, which would be good advice in just about any other circumstance. Rallis encouraged Squirrel to go and just do whatever he wanted, to just pick something and do it, to ignore what other people wanted or thought he should do because it was Squirrel's life and not theirs. Very good advice to give someone normally, less so when the fate of the timeline supposedly rested on everyone being on the same team at a certain rank. And so Squirrel later decided that he was just going to leave the next day for Domovoy, wanting to attend the smithing school there. At least the actual training portion went rather well. We learned that Bien is a robot from Pyroclast world, and 1 out of 3 components of a robot named Apollo. Shio arrives into Eden from Makana due to a premonition to help out, apparently coming from some very expedited trip flying on a Pidgeot. A bit after meeting her, Samuel ends up telling the party about the experiments that Noah had been subjected to in Icona in excruciating detail. Shia ends up having a spar session with Squirrel, Chomper, Pyroclast, and Team No Worry, where they were simply to show off what they can do. It turns out that Shia also likes to use parry tactics, with her using her many tails to simultaneously attack and defend. That training also went rather well for everyone involved, but she did make it quite hard on them to progress in the fight at all. Wade ends up talking with Samuel and is given advice when it comes to investigating a murder that is suspected to have been done by the Vane in their timeline. And Samuel ends up talking with Samantha about her sister, who apparently had been erased from time. This is time. Oh, this time it ends up sticking, as whatever power attempts to erase her memory and rewind time ends up not working this time. Pyro asks questions to Samuel, finding out that Bian doesn't have a recovery partition and that he really needs to work with Edge on hiding their magical signatures, since Edge was glowing like a beacon to anyone that knew magic. It turns out that Edge was stealing most of Pyro's magical buildup, and has been the whole time. So he's chock full of magic with no idea what to do with it. Pyro was unamused, since that meant Edge had also been stealing his magical capacity growth and glowing like a beacon to the magically capable. Scruff got a talking to by Samuel as well, calling him out for just sitting there in a mental fog for most of the day. Scruff was upset that he was being forced away from that state, but begrudgingly agreed to stop doing it as much. Kaza ends up acting bizarre, and we end up finding out that Noah is actually inside of Kaza, and the reason he is acting weird is because Noah is influencing Kaza's personality. It turns out that Kaza's natural compatibility with Noah was having some strange effects on him already, since at times his unconsciousness would merge with Noah's unconsciousness, resulting in someone else being in control that was neither entirely Noah or Kaza. They got nicknamed Koa, but they don't really like that name very much, since they don't want to just be seen as a mix of Kaza and Noah. No better name has been decided yet, though, so they're still going by Koa. Samuel writes up several complaint forms, the first of which being one focused on the receptionist who verbally reacted to finding out that Samuel was an auditor. He also sets up a meeting with the Guardian Corps and a guild representative to happen the following morning. Squirrel went off to go and get his things ready to leave, since he was planning on leaving the very next morning. After a bit of deliberation, he decides to tell some of the other people about his plan to leave. One of the big problems he discovers is that he won't be allowed into the dungeon since he's not a member of an appropriately ranked team. He fixes this by joining Pyro's team, Team Darklight, later that day. Chomper goes to check on Squirrel, being worried for him and wanting to go to Domovoy with him. They both end up learning some basic magic principles from Sigmund. Sigmund took the approach of, yeah, sure, go ahead and try that, see what happens. And Squirrel got his hands burned from touching the fire magic lair in Sigmund's house. Team Chaos asks for a rank up to try and get to bronze rank, since the dungeons in Domovoy are a bronze and gold rank respectively, and they didn't want to be stuck unable to do the local dungeon. The guild approved of a rank up to normal rank, but they'd have to complete a special mission to get bronze. There's an angry Pokemon accosting travelers going over the river bridge, an enraged Gyarados of all things. Squirrel departs on his journey to Domovoy, taking along most of the group with him, with a few exceptions. There's some chatting while walking, with Team Arleon accompanying us to Domovoy, both to keep trying to train us a bit and to act as insurance if the Gyarados wasn't something we could end up handling. Altvain staying behind to host a meeting with the Guardian Corps and the Guild, believing that the Guardian Corps should be made aware of the threat of the gods and the like. Talks of allowing dual membership are now underway, though there are some current big differences between them and what they find necessary and or reasonable. The Guild being lax and the Guardian Corps being strict. Samuel is taken to the rest of the group by Koa's shadows once he's done with the meeting. Soon after some more traveling, a tear in reality opens up around us and takes us back to an area controlled by the original Sigmund. There we find that we're separated by a magic barrier from an eclectic group of Pokemon with some familiar faces, one being actual Lickvane, with an alternate Scruff and an alternate Kaza. In addition, there's an Eevee wearing armor and a sword, a strange Oricorio, a Gibble, and a Cubone. Might have also been a Gabite. I think it was a Gibble though. The Vanes exchanged notes inside the barrier, the Scruffs communicated through Shadow Claws, the Causes do a minor synchronize with each other, and are apparently very jealous of each other. Meanwhile, the Icona crew got a gem that if they crush will get their memories of the side game back. For one reason or another, they all use them. Paz touches the barrier a few times, but as he interacts with it, something strange happens. Another Paz appears on the other side of the barrier, but flipped. Instead of it being Paz primary and Wade secondary, it swapped for this new one, with it being Wade's old body and presumably Wade is the primary personality. Importantly, Original Sigmund apologizes for lying to us. It turns out that we weren't all actually required to be on a team together for the timeline checks. He just thought that if he lied about some of the requirements, we would work together more. Upon seeing it was having the opposite effect as intended, he came clean and gave us all a favor or boon. Some delayed their cash-ins, others used it immediately on something. Pyro learns that Alex was on Etra, and he would need to hurry if he wanted Alex to remain safe. This leads to Pyro planning a trip to Etra later, getting everyone involved with it. There was some more talking, and then Original Sigmund sent us all home, with everyone being in the timeline we should be. Vane admitted he missed Kaza grabbed him, and then Vane went with Kaza to the impacted tree where they first met. Vane had a talk with Kaza, Vane initiated a hug with Kaza cried, and Vane thought he messed up again. Eventually they returned to the group once Amari convinced Kaza to finally let Vane go. That took a few hours. We made it to the river only to see no Gyarados and a pile of red scales on the ground next to the water. We did some searching around, but couldn't find them. Eventually we managed to get their attention by approaching the river, and they exploded into accusations about a thief and trying to hurt their kids, returning to the scene of the crime. We barely managed to calm her down enough to get an explanation about why she was so upset. It turns out that someone had descaled one of her kids, and she was refusing to move from her spot until the culprit had been found and sufficiently thrashed and punished. We promised her we would find the culprit and bring them to her, though the description she gave us was more than a bit vague and uncertain. We narrowed it down to probably being a Tyrogue, but kept our options open. It took some negotiating, but we convinced her to move from her spot of terrorizing the bridge, and instead she was going to head off to Gauliken. Vane did some aerial searching while the rest of the team went on, and stopped by to chat with the Gyarados again about how exactly she wanted the culprit handled. She gave him a better look, looked again, and decided she liked what she saw as she correctly guessed he was actually a dark type and potentially a spiraling one. She demanded that they suffer before they died to him, and Vane found that agreeable. He still planned on handing them over to her, but punishing them beforehand was very doable. Also, I have to go grab something real quick. If anyone wants to continue on, go ahead.
I can continue.
Let's go ahead and spread it out a bit. Rex, would you mind picking it up?
I'm good on this part. You can have Raharu do it.
Okay, I can do it. The group continued on to Damovoy, finding a nearby tunnel to explore. Vane tried to follow along with them underground in case something went wrong, but for once it was his flying type activating his mental state. Flight have to do well underground, much less so when the only exit is still behind them. After his panic attack, Vane was traveling with Team Alien for the rest of the trip. The rest of the group enjoyed some more time in the underground tunnel before eventually being retrieved by a mix of Kaza and Rallas. When we arrived in Damovoy, most of the team went to the guild hall to take out a room. Girl ran straight to the meeting school, wanted to get started on things and earn a spot at the school. There he met a Cubone named Camis, literally tossing someone out of the school and effectively calling them garbage. The same Cubone that he just saw the other side of Sigmund's barrier, in fact, only it was our timeless version. Skrull then tried to sign up. He needed a recommendation of us meeting good standing in order to get it. So Skrull now had a goal, achieving a recommendation. Meanwhile, the rest of the group found out that there was more people from Icana that wanted specifically to meet up with Team Chaos. This was very concerning, but we planned on putting that off a little bit to try and follow up on what little leads we had on this Gyarados culprit. Of course, we updated the guild on that mission to receive a rank up to bronze. Huzzah! Tutorial complete. Interestingly enough, there was a pretty quick match by guild personnel and related services to someone named Demir. Demir hadn't been around for a while, but he did have a teammate that was still around. We were going to settle in for a little while, maybe interview them later, and report any findings with the guild. Unfortunately, the Miracle Twins were the ones sent from Icana as ambassadors. When Skrull was trying to talk to our receptionist to get a hold of one of the teachers at the middle school, it was discovered that there was a BOLO. What is that?
Be on lookout.
Oh, be on lookout.
It's called a
for
bolo.
Skrull. Okay. There was a bolo for Skrull and Noah put up by Icana. It wasn't a bounty or anything, but just a notice to be on the lookout because they were missing. Skrull figured out from the receptionist that the Miracle Twins were the ones looking for him. Skrull starts telling the receptionist about how evil and dangerous the twins are, but gets interrupted after a bit by one of said twins walking out of the room they were in and spotted him. At this point, Skrull books it outside, try and get to the guild. Either Fi or Faye follows him there, but at some point, at a more sedated pace. Squirrel tries to get a private meeting, but the guild receptionist drops the ball, leading to Squirrel making all of his claims in a very public area. The Smeargle following him overhears some of this and realizes that Squirrel was saying some things he admittedly shouldn't know about him and his brother. However, the Smeargles just played off like Squirrel was crazy, turning it into a diplomatic incident that he was officially there as he was officially there as an ambassador regardless of his actual skill set. So we couldn't exactly put off the meeting with them until later. Squirrel realizes that he wants to use his favor with original Sigmanon, an evidence package of all of Icana's crimes, focus on what they did to Noah and on the Smeargle twins' activities. So the original Sigmund compiled a ton of evidence against Icana, packaged it in a rather large report that was a accumulation of evidence from other timelines, guaranteed to be correct in our current one. With his new evidence in tow and enough copies to spread around, Squirrel aims to take this situation rather public. However, there was now a situation to handle, where we had to go to a meeting with twins who were looking for Noah, with Kaza included, who was currently hosting Noah and would sometimes swap out with Koa or have other strange things happen around him. This led to a rather tense meeting with a few additions. First of all was Ayato, who was apparently in charge of the twins. Second of all was Zero, our new guild leader, who is also a literal demon in Stormward form. We made it through the meeting without having to concede anything ourselves, but the guild is going to be taking a large hit since Kalti was the one to tell Icana to take Noah from Shia, making the guild complicit in a large amount of Icana's crimes. The twins were placed under house arrest with Sigmund. Now we were free to handle other things. Bane confessed to Kaza that he was a murderer, which is in a strange turn of events was a positive for Kaza and resulted in them officially dating by the end of the conversation. Squirrel gathered materials for the tools he needed to gain entrance to this meeting school, including grabbing a branch from the impacted tree. He had to do some community service over that along with Ralus. Other members of the group showed up to do it with them to show support, including Chomper, Paz, Pyro, Edge, and Kaza. Ralus tried to skip out on some of it, unsuccessfully. Squirrel had a very negative reaction to the incident, with a bit of a self-inflicted damage that has yet to heal. While that was happening, Ben was trying to interview Severin, the chosen teammate of Damir. He quickly discovered that there was something very not right and grabbed Sigmund, resulting in them finding out Cresselia was messing with Severin's head. They realized that since Cresselia was involved, Kaza was probably a target. However, they were a bit late in that discovery. Most of the group was currently on a forest patrol mission as a part of the community service, and quickly came under attack by the Damir. The Damir proved to be a danger with his knife cutting multiple members of the group with it, but was dealt with after only a few rounds of combat, with Squirrel, Pyro, and Edge being the primary combatants, and Chomper protecting Kaza, who was rather shocked and unable to teleport. After the Damir ran, the group harried him. A bit as
Harry.
Paz, Bane, and Sigmund arrived on the scene. Paz took a snipe shot at Dimir. Bane and Squirrel chased after him very shortly afterwards. As both have movement speed increases and already have high movement themselves, they caught up to him rather quickly, disabling him and disarming him quite quickly. Bane offered to Squirrel actually killing him and just having Sigmund revive him, but Squirrel declined, feeling good enough to just having take one of his limbs off, specifically one of his hands. The knife was probably super cursed, considering that it wouldn't let the Damir drop it when Squirrel demanded it. The Damir was arrested, and he returned back to make reports and the like of the situation, and finalize plans for a team rank-up party for Team Chaos that Paz and Kaza were putting together. It was not to be, however, as Hoopa interrupted with Hoopa Day, and we had a guest star, Narashi. Yay!
Also, by the way, harried means to continually make attacks upon, like harass.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Or by its better moniker, Bloodstacks Day, as we verbally dogpile Hoopa for kidnapping us and basically just force concessions out of him from favors and to devs. The party then split up a bit, with some wanting to explore the forest that Hoopa took us to, and some wanting to take Hoopa for all he was worth, like Bane and Squirrel. Bane asked Hoopa to take them to a list of extremely secret and forbidden places, eventually setting on the Relic Cave. That group had a nice conversation with Reggie Gigas. Hoopa is now terrified of us, especially Bane, but on our it's terrified of us, but on our side, and Squirrel got instructions on golem creation from Reggie Gigas, because in this world, Reggie Gigas made the other Regis himself.
Yep, he just did that, and still had enough power left over to be considered a major god.
The rest of the party got to the center of the forest thanks to Scruff, meaning that the heir of Cernius, who was just there. It was Cultist's fault. They found out that he had no clue what Mother Dearest had been up to, and seemed like an overall pretty chill guy. The moment the group there saw that Bane, Skrull, and Sigmund were back, they demanded instant teleportation from Hoopa. Likely a good call, considering the extreme misogynist menace coming from that group. So we were taken to just outside of Sarok's Cabaret. Bane and Casa went off on a date, and since we weren't hidden, this resulted in Noah accidentally being transferred into Bane's shadow. Scrub Roombad alcohol. Skrull earned some poke as a guard. Chomper and Skrull went on a paid date. Pyro was flat. Marashi was so mad at Seal's insistence she blinked out of ours, and Hoopa was defeated. Eventually our time ran out, and we were taken back to Domaboy, and we probably started to rank up party. Highlights included a game of Ricochet, Saga, Kaza's sister, getting as many people drunk as possible and being an overall menace, and the twins showing up, resulting in some early exes. Kaza tried to make a friendship tower while drunk. Skrull was successful at making the required item a rock-breaking hammer, and successfully started with the basis of being a member of the smithing school. Team Chaos and Team Darlight got an unexpected opportunity, taking on a mission to score the mirror from Hamoa to Golokin to be presented to Esther the Gardos. Most of the teams took the opportunity, with Chomper staying out of it for now. We discovered that there's a religious affairs section in the guild that tries to look into and stop these occurrences before they happen. They had an interest in the mirror, but didn't think he would actually do anything due to his cowardly nature. They apparently interrogated and manipulated the mirror with the help of a Munna?
It's a dream Pokemon.
And wanted us to deliver him since they knew we could handle him. We agreed and set out for Golokin. Along the way, a lot of conversations were had. We totally made it to Golokin in a reasonable amount of IRL sessions. The important combo was Wade interrogating the mirror for information, managing to get out of him that some assassin paladin manipulator named Nasir was going to be after him, and that he was supposed to pass Casa off to them. Crescenda tried some BS, and Sigmund managed to use his special knife he stabbed Arceus with to attack and cut her energy when she tried to mess with the mirror's mind to stop him from talking. The mirror got exhausted in flamboyant fashion the mirror got executed in flamboyant fashion by the Gyarados a small distance from Golokin. Sigmund grabbed his soul for safekeeping. He tends to do that with zealots, apparently. Probably a good habit to stop them from being made angels later. We went back to Domaboy again with this completed, but Chomper slightly regretted not taking the chance to get his negative feelings towards the mirror off of his chest at least. Sigmund sells him out by taking him to his basement and putting the mirror soul back into a body. Chomper then had a nice bending towards the mirror. Afterwards, Casa and Wedge showed up to Sigmund to talk to Chomper, now being taken to Sigmund's study to have a private conversation. Casa admitted that he was feeling a bit spurred because Chomper seems to spend time everywhere except with his team and is more focused on other people. Chomper promises to be better about that and actually spend time with Casa and the team. Then Chomper and Wade talked to Casa about Bane definitely being a murderer. Casa plays dumb for a bit, but eventually they convince him to actually talk about it. Casa informs him that Bane already confessed to him and that he is fine trying to help Bane, but he's better not resulting Bane getting taken from him, or else. Sigmund Sigmund then kicked them out of his study. Bane set up a meeting to happen with the librarians and his team for the following morning. He left early to pick flowers for Casa with help from Lalus. Rylus gave him a reviver seed, saying Cyrog had a bad feeling about something with today. Bane then got ambushed by Nacer, who turned out to be a Tokukist. They were then completely incapable of reading each other's tactics and intentions, eventually resulting in Bane getting off a counter, ambush with a false retreat, and almost killing Nacer then and there. Unfortunately, Casella stepped in with little divine intervention for Nacer, leading to what was about to be a suicide sacrifice for Nacer before he got interrupted by a gunshot. Bane then ripped his head off to make sure that there was no third wind from the divine intervention. Someone named Garland, a Garchomp, was responsible for saving him. Bane recognized him as the Gimund from the prior time, and Bane is taken to a medical attention as he was missing an eye, a leg, and was also bleeding out. His shadow gives him a new eye, but quickly loses a cohesion due to the full body saturation of fairy energy. Bane was stabilized, and the party took a bit of a trip to the Hair of Cernias, though Bane and Skrull were quite unhappy about it. The Hair of Cernias exhausted himself to heal all of the poison inside of Noah, claiming that it's going to be a rather lengthy process for him to fix that, but he can using basic type healing, something even Sigmund thought that didn't exist. Skrull ended up absorbing Noah from the collection of shadows melting off of Bane using aura, and then pulling the rest out of Bane's shadow. Paz had an unfortunate accident, the connection between himself and his memories being severed by the Hair of Cernias, who was trying to look into his head. We then left with Skrull and Sigmund gathering up everyone who knew anything about summoning Giratina. Bane and Casa went to the library to finally have the first part of the meeting, which mostly revolved around Casa thanking BM for the catalyst that he gave Casa, and affirming to Casa that he was allowed to want and ask for this. He then spent a while picking out flowers with Bane, who got to add accessory list. Rylus did something brotherly and was rewarded with a flower. The second
Also, I
part
just realized it might have been a vessel.
Ah.
What magical item thing? I forget which one it was.
Magical item thing.
It was one of the two.
Yeah. The second part of the meeting was about to start when the Giratina summoning group showed up, and Bane tried to ask what their goal was in summoning Giratina. This caused a rather large argument between Elba and Skrull. Bane decided to mediate because he was in a very good mood and wanted to have his meeting in peace. Paz, Croft, Chomper, and Samantha were having a bit of a good moment on Samantha's sunning spot. No one is really happy with how the argument turned out, but they do agree it's pretty much resolved. So Bane gathered up the nearby parts of his team and Team Darklight, and we finally had the meeting. We learned a lot of things about Etre, from geography, local politics, and cultural significance and taboo acts. With the meeting completed, Bane went off to go and get some things ready for the Etre mission. Casa got him to reluctantly agree to use a prosthetic if Skrull makes one. Skrull was convinced to go around and actually share Noah with people, since it was quickly draining and exhausting him in an unhealthy way. Noah turned out to be overly compatible and started sharing copies of Pyro's implants to the rest of the people carrying him. Paz went and told Bane what happened with the Hair of Cernias and his mental connection being severed, and Bane got extremely angry about it. Pyro got a strange vision when mentally exploring, and is currently talking over with Bane. And then the time skip happens.
Yep.
And that's the last thing.
All
That's the last thing
right.
written.
We can go over the time skip in the session recap for next one.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought was happening anyway.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
So at this point, we'll go ahead and open up Q&A for the rest of the session. And basically, if there's no questions or such, then we'll, go ahead and call it and start Season 4 next week.
Yeah.
So, any questions out there, everyone?
I think you could
I am-
also good.
I am also willing to pull back the DM's curtain again for this session as is needed. If you want to ask about past events or why they occurred.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it is also questions for the players. The
Yep.
players can ask questions, though obviously, with this being an ongoing thing, it may not be, we may not be able to answer the question.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to say, you could probably tell that my patience and sanity was draining as I got more and more through Season 3.
Yeah, I could tell.
It was like 40-something episodes. My sanity was draining.
A generous bestowal.
Raharu95 tipped $20.
Thank you for that tip, Raharu. It's very much appreciated. That is the first 2 tiers of the tip goal completed.
Digi, it seems that we have a question for Kaza from Dux.
Oh boy.
All right. What's the question?
From
Fine.
Dux, I have a question for Kaza. On a scale of 1 to 10, how soft are Vane's feathers?
Okay. Well, he doesn't really go out of his way to groom, but they are clean and kept very clean. He's very methodical about all manner of things. So I think I'd give them a 7 out of on softness if I'm not also factoring in the plush feeling and how they can support weight. So yeah, pretty good. Very soft.
From Ido, we have anything folks are looking forward to.
Tournament arc. Tournament arc.
I actually am looking forward to the tournament arc, yes.
Yes.
I want
since
combat.
Strangely, I am as well.
I want combat. Give me team combat.
I have been working to get everyone their new moves. Even Scruff has developed some new moves.
Hey.
Gruff has finally used experience to edit his moves from the basics.
Anything that you're looking forward to, Rex?
The tournament arc is going to be pretty fun, and the eventual possible, unification of the parties.
Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that as well. Yeah.
Especially considering I think we kind of Team Darklight doesn't have the minimum amount of people required by themselves to do it, so they're going to have to join up with Team Chaos to be a part of the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, for Squirrel, it would be his golem. He's been working towards that. I am probably graduating from the smithing school. From Jits, we have, what was the biggest character development for your characters? Well, for Squirrel's side of things, that was going through the Squirrel's adventures.
And getting a real friend, Noah.
Yeah.
Sad chomper noises.
Pat the chomper. Both of you are dicks. Pat the chomper.
For Veda, it was probably when he realized that he was legitimately missing someone on a personal and emotional level.
For Paz, I think actually it might be the thing that just happened to him recently, being severed from his original memories, because now he's shaken and he doesn't know what to do, but he's being slowly comforted by his team.
Shaken but not stirred.
Yeah.
There's also an upcoming one that's going to be pretty big for him.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And for Wade, biggest character development for Wade. That's actually a bit hard to pinpoint, but I would say it was either the time that he basically that he basically decided to forgo the opportunity to basically leave Nargonde when he met his own Rayquaza inside of the time instance. Either that or the conversation that he had with Kaza in season 3. Either of those two. And what about you, Chomper and Scruff?
For Chomper, it's kind of sprinkled around, like, you know, the friendship day with him kind of trying to build up with everybody, but it not necessarily working out. There's a lot of different moments. Party had with Kaz inside of the treeway, moments with Nim. Honestly, a lot of the memory stuff and how it correlates with his party members when it comes to his backstory with the traumatic stuff with his brother and thievery, and how it kind of correlates with his current party, whether it's Squirrel or just the concept of family for him, and how he's kind of going through that. He's had a whole arc when he went to his own head and did meditation, so a lot of those episodes.
Yeah. Personally, I also think that the time that Chomper ended up going to bed to vent his frustrations with Demir was also very powerful for him.
That was a
Not
good
gonna
one,
lie.
yeah. That was a good character moment.
I'd say season 3, that probably was the biggest self-character moment, yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Scruff?
I'm going to say Rob.
I think possibly the most recent big character moment for Scruff was when he was comforting Paz. Paz having his "oh no, I'm a bad person," and Scruff had a heart-to-heart. Not just talking about Paz, but also reconciling. Yeah, no, I clearly fucked up at some point. It's going forwards from now is what matters. It was actually very much a Scruff talking to himself as well,
Mm-hmm.
and endeavoring not to forget about all of his lessons. The best type of hypocrite, the type that forgets the sound advice, genuinely forgets the sound advice they give.
Don't worry, he'll just have nightmares of two parallel timelines veins getting very angry at him.
Oh no!
His current timeline and Samuel from the parallel timeline, who also explicitly told him stop that.
Both of them frowning at him. Yeah, two veins frowning.
Stop. Hammer time.
So, Jits is asking, what is Vane's favorite bread?
All right, so some quick joke answers. Whatever's warm, whatever's closest to him, whatever's available. Actual answer, Kaiser rolls. He likes Kaiser rolls a lot.
What's a Kaiser roll?
Here, I'll grab a picture of it.
Also Googling what a Kaiser roll is. Oh, those things. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes those things.
A Vienna roll.
Here, if I put it in Lost in Chaos. And in media share.
Oh, those things.
Yeah.
Those
They're
are
called
good.
Kaiser rolls. He likes those. Especially when they're like, fresh.
Food is generally better when it's fresh.
Well, yeah. Hey, Paz, there's a funny question for you.
Yeah, I saw it. What was the name of Paz? Go ahead.
Candy Floss is asking, what was the name of Paz's third personality?
It doesn't. The joke. I guess the joke answer is the joke answer. The real answer is that it's also named Paz.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is that it's very complicated and kind of freaky because of all this whole thing with him being brought over into this world and being made real.
Yeah.
But let's put it this way: Wade is the original person. A Paz here is basically a personality that was layered on top of him, but that is currently doesn't have any of his memories because of the whole boy parasite thing. The third personality will be Paz with his memories, which is who is a very terrible person.
Yeah. Like, imagine that the Paz we know is like a shell of a person that was made real and had the memories attached to him, but he's like, technically speaking, he was a constructed personality that had access to the original Paz's memories. So the shell got made real and the memories got made real. The connection was still there, but it was technically two separate people now, in addition to on top of Wade. But now the connection's severed. Which is kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing.
Yeah. And also very convoluted.
Yep. That's why I tried to explain it with the whole, like, there's a separate shell that had access to the memories, but because of the whole memories being made real thing, the memories were made real, but the connection was still there.
Yeah.
So, any other questions out there?
Also, why would Jits need to take notes on Vane's favorite type of bread?
It's Jits.
Alright, another from Jits. What's the worst thing Chomper has put in his mouth?
Some may argue it was the chestnuts, but it probably was the hot sauce that made him see God and run away from the killing of the dinosaurs for a while. He survived it.
Wasn't
season 1, I believe.
It
What's
was,
that?
yeah.
No, did you say it wasn't?
Well, I was saying that there's a few options. It could be chestnuts, it could be the hot sauce, or it could be the medicine that made you lose your fire typing.
Oh, that
true.
wasn't so bad. Chopper did that for Squirrel, so that's fine. What was the other thing? Don't remember. I think the hot sauce was Squirrel. What was the medicine for? I'm trying to remember.
The medicine was to expunge your fire type in order to heat up something for Squirrel.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't bad for Chomper. Yeah. Chomper could tolerate a lot of bad things in his. I'm about to say something out of pocket by accident because I'm not thinking about it. Let's go rewind real quick. Chomper's okay with that one because he did it for Squirrel. There. And also, I would say probably the hot sauce. Yeah. Samantha's fist he didn't actually eat. That caved in his nose, so technically it wasn't in his mouth. If it was, he probably would have been able to survive it a little bit better since, stronger mouth than he has a muzzle.
Yeah. Ido is asking, if the party survives long enough for another friendship day to roll around, what would Chomper consider getting everyone?
That's a good question because that episode took me like a solid 2 hours or so to think about all the things I probably would get everybody. So on the spot, Scruff would probably get some alcohol. Paz would probably get some, honestly, probably 2 friendship bracelets, one for Paz, one for Wade. Squirrel would get probably some of the stuff he may have not been gotten from the market day as a gift. I don't know if that ever got handed to him, but probably some more material for his endeavors. As I know he doesn't like food, so it wouldn't be any food, it'd be some material to help him with his crafting. And Vane would get coffee. The darkest of dark coffee. Abyss coffee, if you will.
Abyss coffee.
Kaza would probably get a dress item of some sort to be like that ribbon. And well, Pyro's already getting a lot of memes, but in the spirit of all the memes, Pyro would get hash browns.
You know, when you mention a
here.
Hash browns?
There you go. we don't have squeaks, so I'll give you the squeaks.
Not gonna lie, that was actually a good approximation of Paris.
I did have a moment of going, did I miss the call join notification?
I did
I'm good at
too.
imitating. People do call me a bottom sometimes. I can make noises if I feel like it. But, thank you. Farion would probably get a large order of food, most likely, and a hair clip to go on his fur. I'm not sure.
Oh no, you should totally get Farion a lamp.
No. We would get we would get a lamp so we can both share in the joy of destroying it together. That'd probably be what we do.
That sounds like a wonderful idea.
And hear Marla
But yeah.
screaming somewhere.
Sigmund would get a bath towel in condolences to their bathroom. It would have a hot pepper on it. Make it like a fun memory, I guess.
I'm sure Sigmund does fun memories.
It'd be a lamp to destroy. Be like one of those like destruction rooms, I think. Samantha would get a boxing glove, so that way she could protect her fist when she punches people. Totally to protect her own paws, not for anybody else's sake, mind you.
Oh, she built just like the Gargamons.
Mm-hmm.
who have gloves despite having paws.
Exactly. For the sake of us continuing, I will stop saying all the gifts that Chomper has for their friends because Chomper has a lot of people he considers friends.
Whether they've returned that or not. Whether they return that or not.
That's true.
Yeah. Hugs to Chomper.
From Bluebad, any cameos from Squirrel's Adventures planned, or would like to plan? No. They kind of, like, everybody from Squirrel's Adventures came over originally, and
they kind of slowly began to leave.
Yeah.
Burden just kind of disappeared at some point, and Akvarel left the plot in the middle of the time instance.
Yep.
He fell into a wormhole.
Yeah.
He swam out to sea and was never seen again.
Elba still shows up from time to time since he's living with Sigmund, though. So I guess he's technically a cameo.
You know, a stable point cameo where he's just like mostly around Sigmund, and then that's it.
Yeah.
From Jits for the storyteller, Enja. Will we ever see Noah get put back together?
Yes. The answer is yes. And I don't even think that's particularly a spoiler.
Nah, I think we all do that.
I mean, I am pretty sure that's what we're working towards. So
Yeah.
I mean, even if carrying Noah wasn't draining our exhaustion like nobody's business, preferable to have Noah as a whole.
yeah.
All right. Any questions from the players for each other or the storyteller? Any other questions out there in chat?
I mean, I guess I'll ask a random one. So I know that like I messaged you about this like a little bit just like out of curiosity. But if Squirrel does end up putting a weapon on Vane's prosthetic, what weapon is he gonna lean towards?
Well, apparently Rex wants it to be a chainsaw.
What, you want to watch him Doomslayer Heaven?
I'm not opposed to this idea.
Make it peeled off of dark type energy so he just has an infinite fuel supply?
Well, it was mainly an Evil Dead reference, but since you brought up Doomslayer, that's pretty cool.
I was thinking Ash and the Evil Dead rather than.
Based on
If it was a
Well,
sh-
yeah,
if
but if it was
if it was a
wing, I
shotgun.
would have. Yeah, if it was a shotgun or a wing, like I would have leaned towards that. But like, because it was a leg.
Oh.
Yeah, you put it on the missing leg, and then you hold the shotgun with your other hand.
Oh,
I mean,
bit of,
a chainsaw from the sky would be terrifying. Be real here. If there was a flying chainsaw.
a bit of a tangent since we mentioned Evil Dead. Hey Rex, did you know that if you if you name your character in Lookout Side
Yes,
Ash,
you can actually have it to where you can have a chainsaw when you lose your arm. Of course I know this already, Raharu. I am a die-hard Evil Dead fan, and I love that game. Yes. It's
I mean, I
fucking
didn't
awesome
know
they
you were-
reference that.
didn't you have learned that or not? I just wanted to mention it since we brought it up.
I appreciate it, yeah. You can actually, and they make a reference, and you actually are able to still have a shotgun even though you lose your hand for your what? It's amazing. Yeah, it's a cool reference.
Yeah, if you keep
But it has
your
nothing to do with this. But I thank you for letting me know.
For the answer, it would probably be multiple sharpened feathers. That are basic. It's more a stockpile that Vane could pull from for his various moves.
All right.
From Ido, any chance for a proper talk with Giratina? I know Squirrel would like that.
Yes. Yes, there is.
Elba would probably like to do that too, considering he got his memories from the what if. But at the same time, he probably still in his being a shame phase, so he probably wouldn't willingly try and do that himself, even though he knows how to summon him.
I mean, there were multiple reasons why Squirrel wanted to do the ritual. he did want to actually talk to Giratina as well.
Fair.
But he got very much shut down.
We mostly concentrated on the fact that you wanted to get that scroll wanted to get food from Noah, and we just kind of shut that down because we didn't know if you could consume that safely, because god blood is pretty much acidic. Unfortunately, but there's a chance to do that again in the future.
Something from Jits, who has been the party's greatest threat/antagonist. Now that one is a subjective question.
I was about to toss in there. You mean other than the party ourselves?
Yeah. Because, like,
honestly,
objectively, I'm fairly certain that the party has dealt more damage to themselves than anyone has dealt to the party.
Yeah, you want to go down the list, but Chomper is his own self-doubts and the party's fractured nature in general kind of hinders his whole, like, idea of family, friendship, and camaraderie and all that jazz, so I would say yeah.
I'm sure Scruff's shadow claw to his face didn't help. Shadow yeet.
But we've also had basically no actual combat, like as a like everybody involved. Like there's been some combat with
except for dungeons.
Parts of them, parts of the entire group, but
we did have a few rounds of combat with everybody together on season 1 when we were doing dungeon runs. But yeah, it hasn't. It's been a long time since then.
Yeah, but even then, like we one-shot the boss and everything else.
Monster House.
Yeah, the Monster House was a difficulty, but.
So yeah, Husky, write down emotional damage. That's what we've been usually. Not fighting battles, but emotional damage.
Emotional.
Yeah, I think yeah, the hard part for that sort of question right now is currently, like, in terms of like the classification of our conflict is a man versus nature conflict, considering we're basically fighting against a natural force for the time loop, which has been our primary concern currently. We do have it set up so that way, you know, there's going to be a fair few amount of, like, personal things going, because, like, I imagine that Squirrel is going to hardcore go after, like, you know, Xerneas cultists if we end up finding them. Vane's gonna hardcore go after Cresselia cultists. You know.
Yeah.
But in terms of the biggest threat, we're definitely in a man versus nature narrative currently, where until we actually start combating the gods properly, it will stay as such until it becomes, you know, man versus man. If you're aware of the different conflict narrative types. If you ask Vane, his answer would be Cresselia. If you ask me as a player, it's ourselves.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that what you might call it, that it is ourselves. If there is the one actual villain that we dealt with would be the Mir, that we kind of dealt with as a party, with most of them being there. And then there's Nazer, but that was something that was dealt exclusively by Bane.
Yeah, and he got crippled for it.
Well, Demir was, like, everybody wound up showing up at some point for Demir, but it really was not the group fighting it.
It was
Yeah.
really, that's why, like, even in my thing, I was just like, it was mostly Squirrel, Pyro, and Edge.
Yeah.
Chomper was kind of laying down support in the back, and yeah, I agree with Tal.
Which is partially why I'm so excited for the tournament arc, especially because in character, if Team Darklight wants to participate, they kind of got to group up with Team Chaos. Or find
Yeah.
someone else entirely, but, like, let's be real.
Yeah. Let's not make that any more complicated than it needs to be, please.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Especially considering, you know, the very easy in-character explanation of, well, we're going to have to go to Etra together, so we might as well figure out how we work together.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I would actually answer that one, but I don't want to spoil completely, but I already have ideas.
Alright, so yeah, the next question from Ido. Evolution ideas. I mean, I've already got Squirrel's evolution planned out. Already got a full ref sheet and everything.
This is my surprised voice of you having a
Oh,
ref
boy.
sheet already
Yeah.
for your character. I
I
like to
I mean,
say,
it's not like
say out
we've
loud
already
how like
seen
new
them.
characters you avoid because you're gonna make a ref sheet for them and all the art.
Yeah, Vayne doesn't really, like, plan on evolving. It's usually a bad sign if he does. Ironically enough, I guess funnily enough, he has two things that are currently even, like, tempting him slightly. One of which is in Season 1, when he was, like, having that scene with Kaza in the woods. Kaza offhandedly mentioned that he thought Vayne would look cool as a Honchkrow. And Vayne remembers that. As well as also when when Kaza was explaining the whole thing with the books, explicitly mentioned that he also liked the monsters because they were big and strong and scary. And Honchkrow is definitely a lot bigger than Murkrow.
You know, if Vayne does end up evolving just because Kaza would like Vayne looking like that, it would be honestly adorable.
Yeah, which is also why partially he might just try and figure out how to do some bullshit temp evolution stuff.
Which is actually not impossible, since I did mention in the recap that Noah ended up temp evolving Vex into a Charizard and Burden into a Mega Charizard X.
Yeah, so it's like, it's definitely not impossible, it's just you'd have to figure out a way to do it. But in terms of, like, permanent evolution, he's not really planning on it. But now he at least has a temptation for it, literally just because of Kaza, which is very funny.
Yeah.
Nice.
I will say, if he does end up, like, doing evolution stuff at all, I did bring up that, like, forever ago to Digi, that he's a normal-sized Murkrow, but if he turns into a Honchkrow, he will be a big Honchkrow. Big Honchkrow. Also, fun fact, the height difference between an Alpha Murkrow and an Alpha Honchkrow is 1 inch. An Alpha Murkrow can get up to 4'1", and an Alpha Honchkrow can get up to 4'2". The main difference is that an Alpha Murkrow can be like 16 pounds, and an Alpha Honchkrow can be over 100 pounds. You could get a very big bird. It's very funny. A very, very big non-steel type bird.
When it comes to Chomper, I will give you something. I've already been hinting at how Chomper is very insecure about, like, his look and appearance and how people perceive him at times. And that may go into play with how his second form ends up panning out, as well as his third form. May have a story to tell with that, as the idea. Also, the typages that Chomper's been playing with, besides being fire-water type, he's been doing a lot of stuff with fairy type, which may affect how he looks when he evolves. I'll let that, if you wanted some for your artist brain that may get things stirring.
When it comes to Paz evolving, I've been dabbling on a few ideas, but I ultimately decided that he will just evolve into a regular Drizzile. But it's not it's not going to happen until some sort of story development happens between Paz and Wade, because as it was hinted at, or rather outright stated in season 1, as long as they don't work together, they're going to be holding each other back.
Can't move forward while you're fighting yourself. Burn my dread.
As for Scruff, oh, wow.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tal.
Nope.
Oh.
Just no. Okay.
Nope.
Nope. All right. As for Scruff, much along the line of Paz, there's going to be significant story, plot, and roles involved with the setup for Scruff's evolution. I will say it will be funny. I'd say that with the certainty of when I start thinking about what I have planned for that scene, I start giggling. So, Scruff will evolve. It'll go fine.
It's too bad that Gimund isn't here to see if he has any plans for Pyroclast to become a Charizard, or even Edge becoming a dual Edge, because I am honestly wondering how the heck that's going to work, because it's going to go from a single individual.
I also like how Ido even pointed out Sag. He can't poke fun at Pyro.
Well, I suppose, what about Kaza? Is he gonna evolve?
At some point, very probably. I even potentially have a picture for it.
Nice.
And then to
I was gonna
evolve
mention
again,
Noah
he's...
evolving.
And then for him to evolve again, he's gonna have to be traded away to somebody else from Vayne.
No, Kaza will. He's not gonna, because he doesn't like his last evolution and is decidedly not going to ever. The same applies to Rallis either. They like their tails, actually, so you can screw off with Alakazam.
Scruff understands after seeing what Mammo's spine looks like.
Vayne doesn't even dislike Honchkrow. He's just like, I don't see the point. I don't need more dark type energy.
Personally, I think the wrestler mask looks fucking stupid, and I refuse.
I mean, I'll always remind you guys you can customize it.
Yeah.
Oh, Scruff will evolve. It will just be funny.
Yeah.
I imagine Noah's evolution, but then I remember some of the animations I've seen on YouTube about what happens if all the evolutions evolve at once and what it could make. And then I stopped thinking about it.
No. Noah just evolved into an even bigger Eevee.
Yeah, that'd be a nice thought. Let's go with that.
I think his actual
Digi, you
canon one
mentioned
is Leafeon.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Digi had an actual canonical one where he just does normal stuff.
Ah.
Was it Leafeon,
Yes.
Digi? Nice.
It was Leafeon. It was.
He said was speculation time, chat.
Now that's under normal circumstances. There are many
Oh,
ways
yeah.
for him to go.
We should probably we should probably avoid it'd either be really good or really bad. We should avoid friendship evolving him at night.
Wait, everybody, full stop.
No.
There's a Murkrow Platinum emblem if you play Pokemon right now. I'm watching an ad, just so you know. It's kind of ironic.
Oh.
Keep going.
Now, hold on. Wouldn't it be really funny if Noah turned into an Espeon?
It would be, but also, like, you know, the very funny and awful idea of him becoming a dark type as the reincarnated corpse of hell. It would either be really good or really bad. It would either fix things or make them infinitely worse.
But consider Sylveon.
I was
That
going
one
to
would be
say
pretty funny.
Sylveon would be good.
Yeah.
We put around for the win.
Because I'll just make him a Flareon, literally make him the fires of hell, and be pretty funny.
If I remember correctly, the evolutions that happen from times of day in the P&D verse are done through items in the P&D games actually.
Make him a Glaceon the day hell froze over.
I like Jits's suggestion of Paz becoming an execute or an executor. So all the personalities have a body, but are still bound to one another.
No, there's 3 of them. You could be a Hydreigon.
Why not a Doug Duro or whatever it's called?
Duro and
Trio. Hydreigon, each of the heads has a personality.
Also, Candyfloss, what do you mean? Paz and Way become Kamen Rider W. I'm not familiar with Kamen Rider. What do you mean by that?
Oh, let's move on.
That's like a
Fair enough.
fusion. Okay.
I have gotten so much Kamen Rider stuff from Kerr, and I still don't understand any of it.
I was about to say the moment I saw that and you saw that, your reaction, I'm just like always having Kerr flashbacks. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Kerr. I wish to apologize for Guild Tales. He didn't get his chance.
I mean, he had his chance. It was just he changed what chance he wanted to be like 15 times.
And
Was that a Guild Tears, or are you referencing ATA with that one?
Both.
Yes.
Also, to be fair though, he kind of went on a bit of a hiatus, and when he finally came back was literally the day that we had to cancel the campaign.
He also did that in Demon Slaying Duo.
Demon Slayer Duo? What's that?
It was a short-lived campaign where it was just Kerr and I as players. And he changed his character's class and build and everything like 4 times over 7 sessions.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like ATA.
Now I understand.
Oh, yeah. So that's just a Kerr thing, then I understand.
Kerr does not stick with characters. He looks at a shiny new build idea and instantly swaps.
Which is not a bad attitude, but you shouldn't be doing that with the same character over and over.
Looks like Vane's getting more ship questions.
Is it by Ducks?
Yep.
Do that immediately.
How long, Vane, have y'all been going out together with Kaza?
I just looked over. That's not even the question.
Oh no, I was just saying something.
Oh,
That could be a question for yourself, though.
No, I was just joking. I'm aware how long they've been going out. It was more of silly.
As for Vane's response to that, I mean, he doesn't really have a whole lot of experience with ranking how soft fur is, especially considering how much he tends to not allow physical contact, but he certainly doesn't have any complaints.
Actually, now that I think about it, do Abras have fur? I thought their skin was more like Shintin.
Well, yeah, but Kaza and Rallis and Saga have fur because of CL's influence.
Oh,
Remember,
okay,
he's
alright.
fuzzy. He doesn't have the chitin. He's just fuzzy.
I get it. I forgot about that for a moment. Yeah.
So, Vayne is basically unable to rate the fuzziness considering how little he does the whole physical contact thing, but he definitely doesn't have any complaints.
Thumbs up.
All right. Any other questions out there?
I mean, I guess I got a good little random one
Yeah.
for Digi.
Oh boy.
How many rounds are you planning on the tournament arc to be?
I was thinking 5, but we'll see how long it takes, actually, because this is going to be big combat. Big team versus team.
We should probably try to try and fix up the fact that we haven't been using maps in this for
Yeah,
that then.
no.
Yep.
But here's the layout that I was having planned. 1 round, and then one of the events. Followed by another round, another event, and then the remaining rounds.
So,
Well, no,
because there's going to be 3 events. So what? Event, round, event, round, event, round, round, round.
No, round, event, round, event, round, event, round, round.
Okay.
Dux, this is the last one that I'm going to allow of the Vayne Kaza relationship-ish stuff.
He is the primary, like, ship fan.
What
What
would
are you gonna
happen?
do? Talk about Chomper and Squirrel? Ho ho.
What would happen if you put a drunk Kaza, a drunk Culti, and Vayne in a room?
I think Kaza and Kalti would just start fighting, and Vayne would just stare in abject horror.
Especially considering the topic that they'd most likely have in common would be either one, kind of like hating each other / themselves, and 2, both liking him. Vayne is already confused why one person is choosing to be with him. He would be stunlocked if people were fighting over him romantically.
Bane, that EHC has legitimately stopped working.
Yeah, you know, he normally doesn't engage with with that sort of relationship stuff at all, much less have to deal with the idea that 2 people are like willing to argue and fight over him.
So bring back the boss dynamic with Chomper and make it more intimate. Gotcha. We'll work on that.
If you want Kaza to punch your throat, probably, then sure.
Do you think that is anything compared to Samantha's punch in the snaz? Chomper's been training for this day.
You do that. You see what happens, buddy. You see how strong Kaza actually is.
Chomper's been training for the day to get in between 2 love interests.
He pulled the "I'm gay" meme, but in real life, and got sent flying a couple feet. I think it was 20 feet. How long was it? Did you?
It was. I think it was 30 feet. You got
30 feet.
Knocked over the flower fields.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just joking. Tee.
Chitz asks, will there be medals for the tournament?
Yes, and rewards.
Oh, does it mean there's side quests for how well we do on the tournament?
Jit says
I mean,
Chomper has
first
been
place-
systematically destroying all his face and muzzle pain receptors. He is ready for this.
Oh, that's what the chestnuts were for.
You can train your throat all you want. You still need it to breathe.
Sounds like a challenge.
He's got water breathing. We just throw him in water. That's how that works, right?
Requires
I'll just breathe through osmosis.
Surely.
He just
That'll work.
absorbs the oxygen through the water through his skin.
Oh, are we doing the lore for why certain characters have blue skin now from other series?
That's a thing.
probably.
Looking at you,
Oh,
Overwatch.
hello there, Gimund.
Oh, does he exist again?
Gimund, you can join voice.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes,
Hello,
also,
Gimund. This is
remember-
your game. Get in here.
also
Hey,
remember,
everyone, get in here.
When it comes to relationships, don't worry. We've also got Chomper to target, who has curious feelings for several men.
Yeah.
For some
spec-
Chomper's way too.
Specifically, 2 men. One just happens to already be in a relationship, and like, okay, well, I'm not gonna get in between that, but you know. But mainly Squirrel. The other one's confusing due to kissing and talking about it.
Yes.
You can also
They just have a teddy bear living in them.
these. I am available for these.
Also, hey, Gimund.
Hi.
Hope you're doing well.
Yeah,
wish
well,
I
yeah.
might-
Quick.
Okay. To which I might volunteer a bit for to get things going. The reason that Lilac and Farion are together, a Cubchew and an Alpha Arcanine, because the original team was Zarok and Farion. The third was Lilac, and he joined because he was kind of lonely, and Zarok had an idea after getting a read on him, and well, after convincing him to try their team out, one night Lilac couldn't really sleep, but kept looking at Farion, so Farion just sort of like groggily opened one of their eyes as Lilac was kind of just pushing against their nose, and licked across the entirety of their body absent-mindedly, and Lilac decided, I need this man to crush the entirety of my being.
Pretty basic, right? Pretty based. Out of character, super duper based. Would get kicked off of Twitch talking about it. Super based. And in character. Oh, neat.
Dux, you may ask 3 questions about Chomper relationship stuff.
Fair enough. That's how many he got about Vayne and Kaza. So you know, fair
Exactly.
enough.
Rex is comfortable talking about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can decline answering and stuff. Scrolling up here, let's go back to some of the group questions for Gimund now that he's here.
That's a good idea.
Also, do your intro.
Hi, I'm Gimund, and I'm playing Pyroclast. Sometimes Ghost, sometimes Dark, Fire Charmeleon. He's currently Ghost Fire, and having an edge on his back.
Alright, so Ido asked earlier, anything folks are looking forward to?
Definitely going to Etra.
Understandable.
Yeah. I I love how everybody except for Team Darklight is actually looking forward to the tournament.
Yeah. All of Team Chaos is like, tournament! Team Darklight is just like, yeah, like our personal projects, you know.
It might be a little difficult to get them to even have much interest in joining.
Oh. Team building.
Basically Vade's argument would be, if we're going to Cannibal Islands together, we should probably know how to fight with each other.
Indeed.
Alright, so next up was Jits asking, what was the biggest character development for your character? Aside from discovering how to go flat.
Is that really character development or undevelopment?
Probably undevelopment.
You know, he loses an entire dimension of his character after all.
We better be careful, he's starting to deflate already.
Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah.
Oh god.
That was probably the biggest squeak I've heard you do in a long while.
Same.
Sound like you deflated there for a second.
Okay, guys, let's give Gimund some time to breathe. He actually wants to answer questions.
True. Fair enough.
This is funny.
It is, but we're supposed to be doing a Q&A. I guess while he calms down, we could do the first. Oh god.
It's now squeaking.
Go ahead and answer the question.
What was the question?
What was the biggest character development for your character?
Probably one he didn't exactly have on. Probably one he had before meeting, like, everyone. Which was, a memory he had of, basically the first real memory, which hasn't, it's been, like, I think jumped around, but basically his real first character development or biggest is a memory involving him basically bullying Edge / Connor and Alex breaking up the fight. Basically, from there, he sort of learned that, oh, what I'm doing isn't the right thing.
Hey, I'm kind of being a jackass.
Yeah, because his family wasn't great, so he kind of assumed from his family that it was okay, and then learned, oh, it's not.
Fair enough. Let's see. Next one. Just scrolling through to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I think the next one is the fun one.
Oh, the actual next one was, well, no, that was, no. So yeah, the next one was the fun one. From Ido. Evolution ideas?
Yes, I do have some.
Ah, so he is going to go fat.
Maybe a variant of a Charizard that isn't fat.
Ah,
Now
got it.
that's-
Doesn't want to eat
Malnourished
multiple
Charizard.
buffets at once.
Oh boy, like 50 things at once.
Think of all the hash browns you could eat.
Hash browns?
If you use verdant as a base, yes. Even I never got the story on his capacity.
hash brown capacity.
Ash Cassidy.
My gosh.
Also,
Jits.
to answer
I mean,
your...
those-
Oh, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, Jits. I mean, those hash browns don't go to your hips. They go to your evolution's hips.
Ah.
So he will evolve and then die. Understood.
Oh no.
Just immediate crater.
As for your question, Gimund, what project has made Squirrel feel most accomplished? Probably the breastplate for Kaza. At least so far.
Yeah.
The breastplate then got turned into a gray and black dress.
He's not super happy about that. He worked hard on it.
To be fair, though, Kaza probably wouldn't wear it if it was just bulky armor.
He did his best to make sure it wasn't
That and
bulky.
Pat.
Well, that was also just sort of a Noah shenanigan trying to placate again. It's like, hey, this works out.
Alright, so Dux has a question for Chomper. Is his romantic type based off of certain Japanese animes?
The answer is no, but it's probably a happy coincidence.
I know.
I think there was at one point potential considerations for Chomper also kissing Kaza.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that Squirrel has gotten mostly over his shiny obsession. Though he will still get very upset when people misuse gems.
I will say, I have something very funny planned.
Are we gonna get a scruff and a trophy?
Scruff likes shinies. I'll only say that. You can hypothesize all you wish.
Also, now that I think about it, Vane's shadow, weird things totally aren't going to happen with that. Totally not. No bad things will happen from the baby shadow demon hosting the corpse of hell. Nope, no siree. Nothing wrong could go. Nothing wrong could happen from that, right, guys?
Nope.
Couldn't possibly.
Duck's second question for Chomper. What's your brother's name?
I did have that actually written down and was going to do that, and I kind of bounced around the idea a few times.
Fair enough. Any other questions out there, then? Yes? No? Maybe?
Hey, down.
Oh.
Where?
Oh, here's a few things.
So, yes. Pyro. Did you have a thing for Aquabelle?
Unfortunately, no.
Also, but funny you mention that because at some point there was a hint of something possibly happening between Elba and Aquarel. Funnily enough.
I remember sticky notes.
Yeah.
I like how much Dux just seems to be here for the shipping.
He's having a good time with it.
Totally acceptable.
Oh yeah, no,
He knows
I'm
what
just
he's
saying
here
that
for.
I like how he's just like shipping questions.
Dux is asking, what's Paz's romantic type?
That is a good question. Ah,
I'm just imagining the Shrek good question meme.
Rex, we're hearing buzzing from your mic.
Sounds like a fan.
if it, what you may call it, if it's the past, if it's the past in Lick right now, I haven't completely decided that, but there's a few ideas in my head for that. If it's the original Paz, the answer is himself.
All right, and from Jits, will we ever see Elva again?
Oh yeah, you will. Elba has taken a backseat, but he's still going to show up.
I do want to encourage. We've got a lot of players here already, so I do want to encourage that Elva remain more in the backseat. So that way, you know, the active characters can get more time in the light. I will say that that's kind of why, the main reason why Elva's gone in the backseat. Because already, as is, we kind of have.
And then people keep going to Sigmund's place where he lives.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
it's
going
nice
there to
that,
see. We're going there to see Sigmund, but just where Elva happens to be.
I like Ova as a character. He's very positive. And it's cool that the community still likes him and wants him around more. That's what I'll add to that.
Honestly,
Have a very positive beat.
honestly, I'm glad people have been enjoying my Quagsire.
So long as Elva never evolves to your profile picture, we're good.
What?
Because Raharu's the profile picture right now is the Godzilla Quagsire thing.
Yeah.
The more he learns, the bigger he grows.
Does that mean if you get bigger, you get better? Got it.
Don't worry, no matter how big he gets, he just needs to make sure not to step on any particularly pointy grass. Godzilla Quagsire would still be defeated by the greatest defensive structure of all, a shrubbery.
A shrubbery!
A shrubbery!
All right, last
here's a
call for
question.
any more questions. Go ahead.
This is more of a silly but also interesting question. What would Scroll's Dream Forge be like?
Oh. First off, portable. But still having all the things that he needs. And I do mean all the things. And probably not just limited to forge, but also, you know, probably a loom in there, because he's got an interest in tailoring. Probably a couple of pots, so he can start messing around with seed crafting. You know, that would be his dream. You know, just put all the crafting benches in there on a wagon that he can
Somehow
take
keep
everywhere.
going.
Yeah.
So the scroll just develops a magic item called the all craft station.
I will remind people that quite literally, if you utilize the power of wonder bags, which are available for private purchase, you could strap like a bandolier of wonder bags to yourself.
There
It
is
just costs a lot of money.
that is a goal that he has. And also, he would not want them all in one station, because he would want to have all of them separate, so that way when his ADHD gets, you know, when he wants to work on something else, he could just move to that station. Without having to, you know, put away the forge and such to pull out the loom. Because you don't really want a loom and a forge right next to each other.
Oh yeah.
Be fine if you're careful.
Daisy chaining wonder bags until he creates a Pokemon version of Factorio? Yes.
Problem is that I don't think things inside the wonder bag interact at all.
He will find out a way to make it work.
He will make the factory bag.
Factories, Mo.
I'm just imagining.
I had
like,
so
the
many
moment-
friends that played with that mod. I never liked that mod.
Oh.
Dux has a final question. What is everyone's dream home? Kaza included in who he's asking.
That's a good question. I can say
Vane's
for
answer.
Chomper. Go ahead, Tom.
I was just gonna say, Vane's answer would be whatever Kazuo wants, so long as he has a room for a desk with a coffee maker.
Chomper's answer
Easy
is
to
like
say.
less about having a house or anything like that. It's more about community, homes where, you know, friends and fam are. So pretty much his dream home would be simply having all his friends and loved ones just kind of all be able to be, you know, near the same spot and all in a community of sorts. That'd be the idea of a home for him.
Squirrel is going to figure out how to make an airship and make that, and that'll be his home.
Oh.
Did you miss that idea
Oh,
then,
Squirrel.
at some point?
No, it's just been a while. It's just been...
It's come up multiple times here and there.
I was here for rooms and reptiles. I know what you're about.
2 weeks ago.
Well, yes, you do know what I like.
I mean, if the
Air
apartment
squirrel.
complex in Europe, if the apartment complex in Europe Husky had like everybody in the party in some way around and they all talked to each other and were friends, then yes.
Also, the one thing that I'm scared about when it comes to a airship is getting smited by either Rayquaza or Deoxys for existing in their airspace. Considering that's literally their excuse for doing whatever they want to whatever's flying. They both do that same excuse.
Understood. So we just need to put shrines to each of them on there and make the proper sacrifices. Wade's got,
I'm sure
you know...
that will go well.
Wade's a follower of Rayquaza. You know, we can just talk, just get him on board.
That will go so well with Vayne there. He will totally accept shrines to the gods being put up. Yep, totally.
Who said you get to be on his house?
If you're including his team, he's going to show up whether you like it or not.
He is just bringing Wade in as a consultant for the shrine, and then, drop Wade off at the nearest lake.
Wow.
Not really, but
Just tipping him over the side.
Also, I am sure that having both of their shrines on the same ship totally won't piss the other one off.
Hierarchy.
If nothing else, it'd be a great lure for getting them both out so we could kill them.
Yeah.
Okay, better idea.
Although,
He will make a shrine for Regigigas and get
That's a good one.
his blessing for it. So that way, if they mess with him, they could take it up with Reggie.
Who is currently attempting his hardest to lay low and not draw to the attention, draw attention and make them realize that he's actually awake, because they know he's going to hate what they're doing.
Okay, fine. Giratina then. Squirrel's got a really good in with...
Really not. The one god is really not supposed to leave the outer spaces where he's keeping watch doing his job.
But
Now, for Regigigas, I'll say, learns the situation. You did what? Now I know this sounds bad.
To be entirely fair, the only reason Regigigas is training himself is because because we told him that if he tries to judge the gods at the moment, they're just gonna gang up on him and kill him. If he ends up retaliating against somebody because they broke a shining his name, then that's a different story.
Yeah, because the problem was that he would go to heaven, declare a domain, and then slowly lose, fighting all of heaven by himself, but still holding his own. In comparison to him absolutely fucking meteor mashing one of the other gods' face in a 1v1.
Yeah.
yeah, I think he'd be fine.
Your idea about a Regigigas shrine isn't bad, honestly.
Yep. He is supposed to be laying low, though. We're not supposed to let it be out that he's awake and aware and active. He's kind of not supposed to be active right now. We woke him up.
Okay, he'll go with Giratina then.
You're a god and a god.
I mean, Giratina's a good one. Giratina's a good dude.
Yeah.
Like I
At
was
least
going
he does
to say,
his goddamn job.
Like I was gonna say, Squirrel's got a really good in with Giratina, so
Well, not in this timeline. Not until we have a chat with him.
well, yeah, obviously Squirrel's gonna ask for his blessing before he goes and puts a shrine in there.
Of course.
And maybe ask Sigmund for the alternate timeline memory thing for Giratina.
I don't know if you could do that with a god, but that'd be interesting.
It would be. Although, honestly, I don't think it would be that necessarily. I mean, Giratina was just there for the last few days. He would just need to be explained what happened.
Squirrel's still interested in being part of that task force under Giratina to put them all back in their place. He's not really on board with the idea of killing them all, necessarily, but...
Unfortunately, doing that also results in killing all of them. Because if we restart Hell, they automatically start dying because their timers are up. It will result in all of them except for, like, the Reggies dying.
Lovely.
Yeah, but at that moment is kind of different from us killing them directly, even though we are technically killing them directly by starting the cycle of reincarnation. It's just what's supposed to happen happening already. So
Yeah, well, but it is still the equivalent of saying, I didn't kill them, it was manslaughter.
but it's where
That sounds
it's
about
going.
right.
I mean, it's going to happen whether we want to or not if things go correctly. So I would just say that that's just a better outcome than than us just killing them directly.
But
To be fair,
either
killing
way,
them directly will also have the same effect.
circling back
come
around
on,
to the
come on,
original question, dream homes. What would Kaz's dream home be?
Now, that is a tough one, but he would like a large space to start pursuing his hobbies. But he probably want a space for his friends too, so a pool and a basement are required.
Got it. He's just going to throw all of his friends into the artist basement.
No, that's what
Oh
that's
my.
that's something you made up. When I think of basement, I think of arcades and like chill, game pads. I think a basement would be cool.
Trust me, I am not the only
I
one
think-
I'm not the one that came up with the artist basement.
He's not.
That's been a
No.
meme across
my.
the internet for a long time.
Really?
Sounds more
Very
like a
prevalent around The
firefighter room.
Sims as well.
When it comes to Paz's ideal home, I'd say it would just be a place that we could that he could relax and that he could call his own, that he actually owns it. As for the aesthetics of X, I have to think a bit deeper on that, but it would probably be a bit fancy looking. When it comes to way, he'd be much more conservative in that regard.
What about Scruff?
Scruffs would probably. Decided
When
to
I
back-
said basement,
sudden
I
meme from
I
Digi.
said something to Scruff specifically.
Well, before I click on that, Scruff's idea of home would be much along the lines of what he had back in his previous world, which is partially underground, effectively small roundhouse. Think dirt floor, fire in the middle, somewhere for the smoke to escape. But then with a mixture of wood and bone and ivory kind of around holding up the structure. Warm, cozy, has spot for multiple people to lay around or chat or whatever. Cozy.
I'm just imagining the the Master Oogway monkey meme.
Yes.
I'm just imagining that instead, but mountain when it comes to Scruff thinking of a dream home.
Yeah. Bitter far below freezing cold outside, warm snuggly inside.
Mountain.
And lastly, Pyro.
I think the Edge and Pyro would live together, but also with Alex. As for the location, that one's hard, because it would probably be a interesting place. Yeah. Location unknown. As for what it would be, probably a modern style home, probably?
So his timeline's equivalent of cottagecore. Got it.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. Anyone out there?
I did ask one. Let me see. A curious final question. How would Squirrel and Pyro react to seeing Burden and Aquarel again? And also he extended that question to Elba.
Ah, right. I did see that. Mixture of emotions. In the case of Verdant, tears, but also he'd probably get punched in the face. Aquarel, probably the same thing.
Oh.
But also happiness. You know, happy tears. But you're also getting punched for leaving. Watch it, Ido. Squirrel will put a collar on Aquarel. And I'll make sure we get a milk tank so that way you never have to leave for milk again.
That one's making my emotionally damaged heart giggle a little bit, I'm gonna let you know. Just not gonna laugh out loud about it. But that was actually pretty funny.
What about Pyro?
You'd be happy to see him. Probably see if anything's changed about them. Given see if Verdant's tail has grown longer.
I mean, it probably has, but Burden is a Charmander in this timeline.
Same thing.
And lastly, Elva.
Yes, for Elba? Elba would be happy to see Burden again, but there might be a bit of a toss up on whether Elba forgets something or not, because he may have the urge to berate Burden for abandoning his son again, not realizing that wasn't something that was discovered in this timeline.
How dare you do this again? Wait.
As for Aquarel, I think Elba would give him a big old hug, of seeing him, upon seeing him again.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for Lost in Chaos Scar today. Check out our website, zgfgaming.com. We've got links for our Discord, Telegram, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Patreon, and more. There on the website as well as down in the description below through our link tree. Thank you to my patrons, tippers, and subscribers. It is your support that keeps this channel alive and going. I cannot do this without your guys' help and your support, whether that is financial or just with your time. Consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/zgfgaming. It's one of the best ways to help out the channel, though you can also do so by sharing the stream around, grabbing packs of cards to stream loots, using our Humble Bundle partner link, or just coming by and hanging out. But for now, thank you so much for joining, everyone, and I bid you the most fondest adieu.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone.
You dudes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.